Chapter 241, Papa Song, My Liver is About to Explode. Chapter 241, Papa Song, My Liver is About to Explode. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. After returning home, Song Shuhang will have to face old Lu. And a drunk old Lu is at least 3 times more annoying than a normal one. Papa Song patted his poor liver. But Shuhang is hopeless too. If he was coming home, he could have called a bit earlier. With that, he would have had time to prepare himself mentally. But now that he was only 10 minutes away from home, Papa Song was at a loss and didn't know what to do. Be careful on the road, and when you're home, remember to greet your Uncle Lu properly. Anyway, what is that rumbling noise I'm hearing? Papa Song used his head and shoulder to hold the phone and spoke loudly. He also said the keyword Uncle Lu's to let Song Shuhang prepare for the worst. Ahaha, it's nothing. This time, I'm coming back with a somewhat special vehicle. Song Shuhang laughed and said, see you later then. I'll be there soon. After finishing his sentence, Song Shuhang hung up. Papa Song put away his phone, somewhat confused. He is coming here with a special vehicle. What kind of vehicle has such a noisy engine? A sports car? No, that's not it. That sound was somewhat similar to those cargo ships they used to use on rivers or those tractors that are rarely seen in the village nowadays. A tractor? F*CK, it can't really be a tractor, right? Papa Song felt a chill in the air that made him shiver all over. No, it shouldn't be. I even regularly sent money to Shuhang. He shouldn't be poor to the point of having to sit on a tractor to return home. I must have misheard, maybe that tractor-like sound belonged to an SUV? While thinking, Papa Song secretly shot a look at the BMW 7 Series parked in front of his house. Son, you better not return home with a tractor, otherwise, your father will lose all face. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Old Song, was that Shuhang? Old Lu asked while drinking wine at that moment, his sound clear and a smile on his face. Is he returning home? Ah? Yes. Shuhang decided to give us a surprise. He said he'll be here in a while. Wife, Shuhang said he'll be home in 10 minutes. Remember to prepare something for him. Papa Song said to his wife in the kitchen. Eh? He is returning home? Geez, that boy. He could have called sooner. Mama Song said with a smile. Luckily, she had already prepared a lot of dishes since old Lu was coming. Old Song, where is Shuhang now? Should I ask Tianyu to go pick him up with the car? Ahaha. Old Lu laughed and continued, speaking of which, I haven't seen Shuhang in a year. I wonder how much he has grown? No need to trouble Tianyu. Shuhang said he's coming here with some vehicle. He should be here soon. Papa Song said with a laugh. Then, he started a fierce drinking battle with old Lu. He had 10 minutes, if he could get old Lu completely drunk, then it wouldn't matter what kind of vehicle Shuhang was using to come here, because old Lu wouldn't remember. After mulling over it, he was more and more convinced that that was the sound of a tractor, and this was causing him to panic. Unfortunately, it wasn't so easy to get old Lu drunk. 10 minutes quickly passed by. Next, the strange rumbling sound of a vehicle echoed in the surrounding area. Song Shuhang had finally arrived. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Just as he was approaching home, Song Shuhang found a corner and tore off the paper that had the invisible formation engraved on it, making the tractor visible. He didn't tear off the other formations because having the tractor go at 20 to 30 kilometers per hour would be exasperating. Anyway, as long as the tractor was visible, it wouldn't scare anyone. As for its speed, he would reduce it once he was close to home. Actually, Song Shuhang was originally thinking of stopping the tractor at some deserted place near his house, because returning home with this gadget was rather embarrassing. Moreover, his Uncle Lu was a guest today, and he knew about his harmful friendship with his father. Unless they compared and ridiculed each other, they wouldn't be happy. Therefore, the sight of him returning home with a tractor was unthinkable. But after picking up the meteorite and Daoist priest Cloudy Mist along the way, Song Shuhang had no alternatives but to cancel this plan. He couldn't possibly carry Senior White and Daoist priest Cloudy Mist and bring them home while conveniently dragging along a meteorite, right? As a result, Song Shuhang clenched his teeth and discarded his sense of shame and moral integrity, deciding to go home with the rumbling tractor. And on a second thought, he found that a hand-guided tractor was rather cool. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Is Shuhang finally here? After hearing the rumbling sound, Old Lu got up from the chair and went toward the window laughing. He wanted to see how much Old Song's son had changed after a year. As soon as he heard that strange rumbling sound, Papa Song had a very bad premonition. He stiffened a bit and went toward the window like Old Lu. The two of them simultaneously looked downstairs. And when they looked below, both their complexions changed. Song Shuhang was grabbing the steering wheel of the tractor, continuously shaking along with it. He had a very happy look on his face. In the open container on the rear was a big rock. However, it was unexpectedly a tractor, and a hand-guided one at that. Were they shooting the scene of a movie? After an instant, Song Shuhang skillfully parked the tractor. Poo-ah-ha-ha! Old Song, this hand-guided tractor your son is driving is really beautiful. I too drove this gadget, but it was 20 years ago. Where did he unearth this ancient thing? Nowadays, it's almost impossible to see these things on the road, right? Old Lu pointed downstairs and loudly laughed. When he saw his son's BMW 7 Series and Old Song's son's hand-guided tractor, Old Lu was delighted. This was enough to make him feel happy for a whole year. On the other side, Papa Song's face had become green with anger. He clenched his teeth and wished he could run downstairs and ruthlessly beat Shuhang. This brat actually used a tractor to return home. Moreover, he wasn't even a passenger, he was personally driving it. As if that wasn't enough, it was even a hand-guided one. At this time, Papa Song felt that his liver was so painful that it was about to explode. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Downstairs, after stopping the tractor, Song Shuhang picked up another person that was curled up in the corner of the driving seat. There is someone else too. Papa Song's expression became a little better. However, why was Shuhang carrying this guest on his shoulders? Just as he was thinking, Song Shuhang went to the rear of the tractor and started to fiddle with something. Besides that big rock, there was another person in the rear of the tractor, and this person seemed to be in bad shape. Papa Song noticed that this person didn't have many clothes on. Wasn't it a bit improper to go around like this in broad daylight? Then, they only saw Song Shuhang stretch his hand and put this person on his other shoulder. Afterward, with one person on his right shoulder and one on his left, he wobblingly headed upstairs. What's happening? Old Lu was somewhat confused. Papa Song shook his head. He had no idea of what was happening either. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Soon, Song Shuhang arrived upstairs and knocked on the door. Mama Song ran over and opened the door. After seeing him, Mama Song asked somewhat worried, Shuhang, who are there two people on your shoulders? Aha. You don't need to worry. Song Shuhang hinted at the person on his left shoulder, the still in meditation Venerable White. This one is my good friend, I asked him to come over to our place. On the way here, he got sleepy and decided to take a nap. However, he's the type of person that won't easily wake up once he's sleeping. No matter how much you shake him, he won't react at all. Mama Song looked at Venerable White. Was he sleeping or in a coma? Wasn't his sleep a little too deep? Venerable White was hanging upside down from Shuhang's shoulder, his long hair scattered downwards. His hands were weakly dangling, and his legs would sway whenever Song Shuhang took a step. To be able to sleep in these conditions, this girl must be a really heavy sleeper. Mama Song heaved a sigh and said, Fine, leave this girl to me. You're also hopeless. Do you think it's proper to carry a girl like this? Mama Song mistook Venerable White for a girl after seeing his long hair and slender figure. What girl? Cough, cough. Ma Se Song Bai is a man. If you're wondering about his long hair, he studies art. It's pretty common for art students to have long hair. Song Shuhang quickly made up a story. Luckily, Zhao Yaya wasn't here. Otherwise, she would need only a look to tell that Shuhang was lying. What? It's a boy? Mama Song was a bit disappointed. She thought that Shuhang had finally opened his eyes and brought a girl home. She didn't expect it that after 1 year in university, he would still bring a boy back, that idiot. And the one on the right? Mama Song shot a look at Daoist priest Cloudy Mist. After a quick look, she was scared to death. This person seemed to be in awful condition, with blood all over the face. Moreover, it appeared that his body had been roasted. All his clothes were burnt to the point of becoming rags, and he was emitting burnt smell. But, strangely enough, the skin that was showing from under the clothes was intact and undamaged. This is a wounded person I picked up on the roadside. After examining him, I discovered that he had some superficial wounds and fainted. I thought it wasn't a good thing to leave him lying outside. Therefore, I brought him back with me. Song Shuhang said with a kind smile. Oh, you? Mama Song touched her forehead. She was really helpless about her kind-hearted son. Shouldn't you have called the hospital first? What would you do if you worsened his state by carelessly moving him? And there was another point that Mama Song didn't say out loud. What would you do if the wounded person were to blackmail you? At the time, a big dispute will await you. You don't have to worry. Song Shuhang said with a smile, I know this person a little. In a while, I'll call his relatives and have them pick him up from here. It won't cause me any trouble. You know him a little? Then it's fine. Mama Song heaved a sigh. Okay, don't dawdle at the entrance, quickly move them inside. Put the wounded one in the guest room. As for your good friend, how about taking him to your room for now? Sure, no problem. Song Shuhang carried Venerable White and Daoist priest Cloudy Mist on his shoulders. When he passed through the hall, he even greeted Papa Song and Uncle Lu who were standing beside the window. Then, he brought Venerable White and Daoist priest Cloudy Mist to his bedroom. Even after carrying 2 people, his face wasn't red, and he wasn't gasping for breath either. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Shuhang seems to be quite strong, right? Old Lu leaned against the window and said to Papa Song, his face completely red. After carrying 2 people on his shoulders upstairs, he wasn't even gasping for breath. That boy is indeed quite strong. Papa Song smiled. Moreover, did Shuhang grow since the last time I saw him? He seemed taller now. Come. Let's go downstairs and try out your son's tractor. Old Lu poked Papa Song's sore spot. It's been years since I've touched a hand-guided tractor. Driving the tractor was only an excuse. Old Lu's real objective was to provoke Papa Song. Old fool, stop causing trouble. You drank so much, aren't you afraid of causing a traffic accident? Papa Song coldly snorted. HMPH, what are you afraid of? 20 years ago, I was holding liquor with my left hand and driving the tractor with the right one. And guess what, did I ever cause an accident? My capacity for alcohol speaks for itself. Moreover, I'm only gonna drive on Beijing Street. What is there to be afraid of? Old Lu said self-satisfied. Then, he waved at Lu Tuanyu who was sitting in the living room. Tuanyu, come over here and help me crank the engine of the tractor. We're going for a ride. I have to crank the engine of the tractor? Lu Tuanyu wanted to cry. Papa Song heaved a sigh and decided to accompany Old Lu. He had no choice but to tag along. Old Lu was dead drunk. What if he were to run up to some faraway place? Then, the 3 of them went downstairs. Old Lu excitedly climbed up onto the tractor and stroked the familiar and yet unfamiliar steering wheel with his hands. Time was unforgiving. In the blink of an eye, more than 20 years were gone, and their sons were now adults. Although he wanted to drive the hand-guided tractor to poke at Papa Song's sore spot, he also missed the feeling of driving a tractor. Tuanyu, stop daydreaming. Go to the front and crank the engine. Old Lu shouted at his son. Lu Tuanyu made a hollow laugh and grabbed the handle in front of the tractor. Then, he exerted some effort to rotate it. When he was little, he had seen old Lu cranking the engine of the tractor many times. Therefore, he was familiar with this task. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The hand-guided tractor's engine started once again. Come on, get on the tractor. It's time for a ride. Old Lu excitedly shouted. Papa Song helplessly climbed onto the rear of the tractor. Lu Chenyo's corner of the mouth twitched. There is no need for me to come, right? TSK. If you don't tag along, who is gonna crank the engine if the tractor were to suddenly stop? Old Lu angrily said. Lu Tuanyu bitterly smiled and climbed on the tractor, sitting beside Papa Song. Speaking of which, why did Shu Hang bring this big rock along? Lu Chenyu looked at the rock and asked. Papa Song shook his head, he didn't know. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Upstairs, after settling Daoist priest Cloudy Mist, Song Shu Hang put Venerable White on his bed. But, at this time, he heard the engine of the tractor roaring. Song Shu Hang ran to the window and shot a look downstairs. He saw Uncle Lu sitting in the driver's seat of the tractor, his face excited. On the other hand, Papa Song and Tianyu were sitting in the open container in the back. The tractor slowly started to speed up. Heavens! Song Shu Hang immediately broke in cold sweat. Venerable White had attached several formations to that tractor. The only one he had torn off was the one that granted invisibility. He didn't remove the ones that decreased the weight and air resistance and increased the speed. Therefore, this tractor could reach up to 100 km per hour. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 242, There is something wrong with this speed. Chapter 242, There is something wrong with this speed. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. What's happening outside? After seeing Shu Hao's strange expression, Mama Song also looked out the window. Then, she saw old Lu and Papa Song getting on the tractor. Lu Tuanyu also got into the open container on the rear with a bitter expression. Those two fools, after drinking all that wine, they have decided to cause trouble outside. They need a good beating. Mama Song said angrily. Afterward, she took the phone and dialed Papa Song's number. But when Papa Song's phone rang, they discovered that it was still on the table. When he answered Shu Hang's call before, he casually left it on the table and forgot to put it in his pocket. Mama Song's anger level sharply increased. She angrily howled at the three people downstairs. Old Song, immediately stop that tractor. Maybe it was due to the tractor making too much noise, but none of them heard Mama Song's angry howl. The tractor set out, slowly accelerating. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The tractor set out amidst thundering roars and black smoke. Very soon, it left Shu Hang's main gate, disappearing on the road. Mama Song. Song Shu Hang. After thinking a bit, Mama Song said, Shu Hang, go to the living room and see if Tianyu's keys are still there. That BMW downstairs belongs to him. If he left the keys there, go take the car and overtake them. I can't overtake them. Song Shu Hang bitterly smiled. What? Mama Song was confused. That tractor of mine is a bit out of the ordinary. Song Shu Hang looked at the sky. By accelerating a little, it could reach 100 km per hour. If you were to accelerate again, it could reach 150 km per hour without much trouble, and it could go even faster if you were to push it to the limit. How could he overtake it? Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Oh. This feeling can't be described with mere words. Driving this tractor is awesome. Old Lu laughed. His whole person was shaking up and down along with the tractor. He seemed very happy. It had been ages since he drove a tractor. Right now, he felt as though he had returned back in time to when he was still young. Back then, he used to drive the tractor the same way. During winter, he would drink a little bit of liquor to warm the body and drive his beloved hand-guided tractor, rushing amidst Wenju city streets. At the time, he had just got married, and although making a living was difficult, he was still very happy, and if Papa Song weren't there, constantly poking at his sore spots, he would have been even happier. He pressed on the accelerator and pulled the transmission, changing gear. The speed of the tractor was getting faster and faster, and the black smoke it was emitting was also getting thicker. Old Song, where should we go? If I remember correctly, there should be an old route with no traffic in the direction of the mountain. If we go there, we won't meet the police. Old Lu said to Papa Song. Times had changed. When they were young, even if they were to drive drunk, no one would say anything. But now, you would get caught, and that was somewhat troublesome. That should be fine. Just go toward the mountain, but remember not to get on the main road and only use small roads. Moreover, someone paid out of their pocket and had the main road on the big mountain fixed. I'm not sure what's the purpose though. You can go there and take a stroll if you want. Papa Song was sitting in the open container behind the tractor, and he felt that something was not right. The speed of the tractor was getting faster and faster, and the surrounding scenery was changing at a constantly faster pace. Old Lu, what's our current speed? Papa Song loudly asked. The engine of the tractor was too noisy, and you had to shout to hear each other. We're not going too fast. I have yet to put the highest gear. So, you don't have to worry. Aha! Old Lu, who was sitting in the front, was extremely excited. Lu Tuanyu felt that there was something wrong. He didn't put the tractor in the highest gear yet. That's impossible. By comparing it to the speed of his car, Lu Tuanyu guessed that the tractor should be going at 60 kilometers per hour right now. Moreover, its speed was continuously increasing. What joke was that? A tractor that was going at 60 kilometers per hour wasn't in highest gear yet. Did that mean that the tractor was modified? Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Wenju City, not too far away from Beijing Street, Mountain Nyoding. Here, there was a circular mountain road. Actually, Mountain Nyoding was the abbreviation used by local people to refer to several mountains that were linked together, and if you were to search for this term on a map, you wouldn't find anything. A long time ago, there was a bent mountain road that linked the people on Mountain Nyoding to the outside world. But later, all the residents moved toward the foot of the mountain. And since the number of families living up there was continually decreasing, the mountain road was also abandoned. But 2 years ago, an unknown nouveau riche got approval from the authorities and paid out of their pocket to fix and enlarge the mountain road. Right now, the mountain road was rather spacious. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. At this time, 3 very cool cars, one red, one blue, and one white, stopped at the start of the mountain road. What do you think of this road? It's beautiful, isn't it? A young but lively girl with a ponytail came out of the white car. She made a hugging motion with her arms, her face very satisfied. A girl with slender and long legs, phoenix eyes, and white clothes came out of the blue car. She looked at the mountain road and said with a gentle smile on her face, "This time, little Mice Wei chose a very good place." A girl with trendy sunglasses was driving the red car. She raised her head and pressed the horn, saying, "Enough chit-chat. My car can't wait anymore. Let's race." Hee hee hee. Alice, I was just waiting for these words. Little Mice Wei laughed. This time, I must surpass 120 kilometers per hour. You too, just look. On this road, I'll reach even 130 kilometers per hour. 120 kilometers per hour? Wait, was this number wrong? Were they using this kind of speed to race? Couldn't you reach this sort of speed on public highways too if you were to press the accelerator firmly? Hee hee. You're not the only one that has practiced in secret. I practiced for a long time, and even on a mountain road, I can maintain a speed of 100 kilometers per hour. I can say for sure that you two aren't my match, Alice, the girl with sunglasses, said self-satisfied. 100 kilometers per hour? And she was even happy about it. You guessed it right, these three girls really liked racing, but they were just too weak-hearted. They liked driving at high speed, but when they were racing against someone else, they would be left in the dust because they were too slow. Even if they liked racing, they didn't like being left in the dust and ridiculed every time. Therefore, the girl named Little Mice Way got permission from the authorities and decided to build a private road in this remote area. This way, these three girls that liked racing, but did not have guts, could come over and have fun. Although the speed wasn't too fast, they would at least enjoy themselves. Zhao Yaya, get in the car. It's time for a race. After getting into her white car, Little Mice Way shouted to the girl with long legs standing beside the blue car. The girl that was gazing over the road was none other than Song Shuhang's cousin from his mother's side, Zhao Yaya. I didn't expect Little Mice Way to choose Wenju City's Beijing Street for the meeting. Shuhang's home is very close to this place. After the race, I might as well go to his house and see if he has returned or not. Zhao Yaya muttered to herself. Yep, Zhao Yaya really liked racing, however, no one at home knew about this hobby of hers, it was deeply hidden. Then, the three girls got into their cars. I'll count to 3. After 3 seconds, we'll set out. Little Mice Way said, self-satisfied. It wasn't a regular car race, and the three girls didn't really care about rules either, they just wanted to have fun. 1, 2, 3. Little Mice Way loudly shouted as she pressed the horn of the car. Afterward, the three beautiful sports cars dashed forward with a whizzy sound, starting to sprint on the runway. At the start, the three girls had very earnest expressions, and their speed wasn't low while sprinting in a straight line. But, whenever they had to make a turn, they would immediately apply the brakes, decreasing their speed. The instructor had always told them to slow down when making turns. After all, you needed to put safety first when driving. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Yo tilde check it out, while driving the tractor, Old Lou was humming an old song. He had a very happy appearance as he was speeding on the small road, heading toward the road behind the big mountain. Papa Song, who was sitting in the open container in the rear, frowned and said, "Isn't this speed too fast? I think we've surpassed several cars while coming here." "You're overthinking it. Maybe their speed was just too low, and we overtook them. Anyway, it feels good to overtake cars with a tractor." Wah-ha! Old Lou laughed. "That's not the problem, father. There is really something wrong with this speed." Lu Qianyu thought to himself. Then, he stretched out his hand and touched his hair. He was uncertain as to why there was no wind. The tractor didn't have a windshield, and even if the speed wasn't too fast, wind should still blow in their faces, right? But after sitting in the open container for a while, he hadn't felt any wind. Aha-waha! Old Song, we've arrived at that place. TSK, it's indeed a good location. The road is very spacious, and there is no one. If we had a good car, it would be pretty cool to race here. But now, let's have some fun on this road. I'll show you my overbearing driving style from 20 years ago. Old Lou was delighted. Then, he changed the gears and increased the speed of the tractor to the limit. Rumble, 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 the roar of the tractor's engine echoed throughout the entire mountain. At the same time, its speed sharply increased. Papa Song said, somewhat worried, "Be careful, this is a mountain road. There are many turns." Old Lou laughed, "What turns?" "At the time, I drove the tractor and made 18 turns on a mountain road at full speed. Now, this expert will teach you how you make turns." Wah-ha-ha-ha! Old Lou twisted his waist and grabbed the gearshift of the tractor, slowly moving it. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 243, Zhao Yaya, wait, is that uncle? Chapter 243, Zhao Yaya, wait, is that uncle? Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The hand-guided tractor was still emitting black smoke. Afterward, it beautifully turned, and its speed didn't even decrease while turning the corner. Did you see that beautiful turn? Even those guys drifting in movies aren't my match. This is true skill. Old Lou shamelessly praised himself, however, his palms had started to sweat. Why? Because just as he was talking, the front of the tractor started to sway more fiercely, and the speed also seemed to have increased. In the open container, Lu Tianyu secretly wiped the sweat from his forehead. Seeing how their bodies had tilted while making the turn, their current speed should be around 70 to 80 kilometers per hour. No, even faster. This hand-guided tractor has undergone some modification. But why would Xu Han crazily modify a hand-guided tractor? Is the new trend to modify tractors instead of luxury cars? This idea wasn't too far-fetched. Somewhere in China, some rich men got tired of luxury cars and started to hold competitions between horse-drawn carriages. Ah? Old Lou, be careful. There are cars ahead. Papa Song had a keen vision. He saw some cars ahead after they turned the corner. Once they got closer, Papa Song saw 3 sports cars. One white, one blue, and one red. Unexpectedly, there were sports cars here. These cars weren't going slow. One could notice it from their rumbling engines. This section of the road was completely straight, and the speed of these sports cars should be above 100 kilometers per hour, right? But, strangely enough, they were slowly but steadily catching up to those cars with the tractor, pulling the distance closer bit by bit. Lu Tuanyu couldn't bear it anymore and said, "Are we going at 100 kilometers per hour? Nonsense. Have you ever seen a tractor going at 100 kilometers per hour? Old Lou heavily reprimanded his son. How could a tractor reach 100 kilometers per hour? But as he was speaking, his voice started to lower. Because, while he was saying those words, the tractor caught up with the last of the 3 cars, the white one. And then, rumble, rumble, rumble. The tractor was emitting black smoke, and its big tires were madly spinning. And just in this fashion, it casually overtook the white car. Old Lou opened his mouth wide. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. In the white car. Little Mice Wei, the girl with ponytails, also had her mouth wide open. She blinked a few times and looked at the tachometer. She was going at 120 kilometers per hour. She blinked again and looked at the vehicle that had overtaken her. This vehicle had 4 huge tires and was making strange rumbling sounds while sprinting. It was a tractor, a hand-guided tractor with an open container attached behind it. Moreover, she saw a rock about the size of a small table in the open container plus 2 men. One had a bear-like build, the other was a scholarly middle-aged man with glasses. What the? Surprised. Zhao Yaya and her 2 friends had also their mouths wide open. From their viewpoint, they could see things even more clearly. Song Shuhang carried Lu Tuanyu on his shoulders, and then whiz, 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 they were already on the mountain road. It was just like those martial arts movies where powerful masters would run on walls while carrying someone on their back. Shuhang, are you part of the cliff climbing club or something? Lu Tianyu said, stupefied. The cliff climbing club? Nope. Just wait a moment, I'm going down and pick up Uncle Lu and my father too. Song Shuhang laughed. Afterward, he jumped down once again. The trendy Alice blinked a few times and said to Zhao Yaya, "Yaya, give me your cousin's phone number." Zhao Yaya. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. When Shuhang jumped down, Old Lou and Papa Song were squatting near the tractor's driver's seat, trying to gather some documents. After seeing that Shuhang could really carry Lu Tuanyu till the mountain road, Papa Song and Old Lou relaxed. Therefore, they started to carefully look around the tractor as not to miss anything important. It was then that they saw this pile of documents. Old Lou, who had his waist sprained, was standing on a side. Papa Song was squatting down and picking up all the documents, giving them to Old Lou. These are certificates of roadworthiness, but how come there are so many? Old Lou shot a look at the pile of documents. That was bad news. There was a lot of vehicles listed on these certificates. sports cars such as Ferrari, Maserati, and Porsche. There were also BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, and even Volkswagen and BIC. Oh, of course, there was the certificate of the tractor too. These were the certificates of more than 30 vehicles. But that wasn't the problem was that the owner of these cars was a certain Song Shu-hang. Old Song, are you planning to open a car-related business? Old Lu asked curiously. Papa Song shook his head. Then, what's this stuff? Old Lu carefully looked at these certificates of roadworthiness. They seemed real. Even the license plates of the vehicles were listed. The two of them looked into each other's eyes, revealing a worried look. Are these documents forged? Papa Song asked in a low voice. It couldn't be helped. There was no way for Papa Song to believe that all these documents were real. There were more than 30 cars listed. And some of them were luxury cars worth tens of millions of RMB. Even if Song Shu-hang was super lucky and were to win a lottery of 100 million RMB, he still wouldn't be able to buy all these cars. And if someone were to say that maybe Song Shu-hang opened a business and bought those cars, Papa Song would surely slap them in the face. What business was that? Banknote printing machine business? Yeah, that might be the case, Old Lu replied. However, he didn't dare say that for sure, because a tractor that could reach up to 150 kilometers per hour was lying upside down next to him. Maybe old Song's son really had some tricks up his sleeve. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Father, Uncle Lu, what are you doing? Get ready, I'll bring you up. At this time, Song Shu-hang arrived at their position. Then, he saw the documents that Papa Song and Uncle Lu were holding. That's bad. I actually forgot to take care of those certificates. Song Shu-hang rubbed his temples. How should he explain things to Papa Song now? Explanation 1, Pa, these cars belong to my friend. However, he didn't have his identification card with him at the time. Therefore, he decided to put them under my name. This story was almost the truth, but if you were in Papa Song's shoes, would you believe it? Explanation 2, Pa, your son suddenly struck it rich. Therefore, I decided to buy a luxury car. But since one didn't seem enough, I decided to buy an entire batch. This way, I can drive a different one every day. This was a lie, but Papa Song wouldn't believe this story either. And even if he were to believe it, he would give Shu-hang a good beating. You struck it rich and spent all the money on cars? Have you gone crazy? Just as Song Shu-hang was in a dilemma, Papa Song opened his mouth and said earnestly, Shu-hang, listen to me. It's illegal to go around with forged documents. You might even end up in jail. Song Shu-hang. Forged documents. This is actually a pretty good excuse. His eyes suddenly lit up as he laughed. Aha! Father, these aren't forged documents. These are stage props. The stage props for a movie. Since the courses weren't too difficult this semester, I decided to join a movie-related club. During this summer vacation, we were planning to write a story and shoot a small movie like those comedies you see on the net. I have to play the role of a nouveau riche. Therefore, the members of the club gave me these documents. These are stage props? I see. Papa Song and Old Lu were suddenly enlightened. Although it seemed a bit forced, it made a lot of sense. Aha! Shu-hang, once you're done shooting the movie, you must let me watch it first. Papa Song happily patted Shu-hang's shoulders. Sure. Song Shu-hang made a hollow laugh. However, even if you're using stage props, you shouldn't use ones that look so real. It's easy to get misunderstood, ending up in trouble. Papa Song added. I understand. I'll talk about it to the other members. Song Shu-hang tried to maintain his smiling face. Papa Song nodded, satisfied. Then, as though he had remembered something, his eyes suddenly lit up. Right. Shu-hang, will you be able to shoot the movie before the end of the year? If you can, it would be very interesting to play it when all our relatives are gathered for the festivities of the new year. Papa Song's inborn disease to show off had started to manifest. Ah? Song Shuhang opened his mouth wide. If I can shoot it before the end of the year. *CK, I was just lying. I'm not even part of a movie-related club. How can I even shoot a movie to begin with? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. A report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 247, The Meteorite Exploded. Chapter 247, The Meteorite Exploded. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. Seeing Shuhang's surprised face, Papa Song asked, somewhat confused, you won't be able to shoot it before the year's end. Then, how much do you need? And what kind of movie is it? Is it similar to those funny clips you find on the net? Cough, no. Song Shuhang patted his chest and said, don't worry. It'll be out before the year's end. No matter what, he now had to produce a small movie before the year's end. As if that wasn't enough, he had to play the role of a nouveau riche, the type that rewards his subordinates with hundreds of thousands of RMB and goes around with several hundreds of different kinds of luxury cars. If you weren't good at telling lies, you had to pay the price for it. Later, he would have to go to the 9 provinces #1 group and see if there was any senior with a business related to movies and television. According to Song Shuhang's understanding, the seniors had stretched their tentacles to every corner of the world. Some of them had even invested money in Mars exploration. Therefore, there might be a senior that had opened a movie company. If so, he could shamelessly ask this senior to help him shoot a small movie. At the time, he would be able to play the role of a flashy nouveau riche for free and wouldn't have to pay anything out of his pocket. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. On the mountain road, Zhao Yaya was leaning against the guardrail. Maybe it was thanks to the direction of the wind, but she could clearly hear Song Shuhang, Papa Song, and Uncle Lu's conversation. He's lying, Zhao Yaya said in a soft voice. Even if they were pretty far away, she could see that Shuhang was lying based on his body language. What he said about the driving license and the movie were both lies. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Song Shuhang made 2 trips and brought Papa Song and Uncle Lu back on the mountain road. Afterward, he also brought his suitcase up. Zhao Yaya gave Papa Song, Old Lu, and Lu Tuanyu a quick check. Aside from Uncle Lu's sprained waist, they had sustained no other injuries. Afterward, she said to Papa Song, Uncle, my friend and I will deliver you back home. However, we'll need to make more than 1 trip. The 3 girls were driving sports cars that had only 2 seats. Therefore, they could only bring 1 person with them. Elder sister Yaya, you can deliver them back first and pick me up later, Song Shuhang said with a smile. I need to call a friend and ask him to help me bring the tractor up. Fine. Wait here, I'll be back very quickly. Zhao Yaya nodded. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Papa Song and the others boarded the sports cars and went back. Song Shuhang's big suitcase was also sent back home with them. Once they were far away, Song Shuhang heaved a huge sigh of relief. Then, he jumped down once again and arrived next to the tractor. The tractor still had Venerable White's formations glued to it. Aside from the one that strengthened the vehicle, it was better to remove all the others. Moreover, there was still that meteorite lying in the open container of the tractor. Since he was alone, Song Shuhang used the virtuous man's 10,000-mile walk and quickly arrived near the tractor. First, let's turn the tractor over, Song Shuhang muttered. Then, he stretched his hands and grabbed the body of the tractor. Or as he shouted, the power of qi and blood in his heart and eye apertures exploded. The supplementary technique immovable body of the Buddha activated on its own, covering his body with a pale golden light. In the next instant, Song Shuhang put all his strength in his arms, lifting the tractor up. The tractor, which was originally turned over like a tortoise, was lifted up. Venerable White's weight-reducing formation also played a crucial role here. Soon after, he secretly operated the basic Buddhist fist technique and made an effort to turn the tractor over. The heavy tractor was finally flipped over, hitting the ground with a loud bang. Except for some fuel leaking out, the tractor suffered no damage. On the other hand, the meteorite had a lot of small cracks on its surface. It was unknown if it was because it fell from a high place or because the heavy tractor pressed on it. Song Shuhang curiously squatted down on a side and said, "Strange, was this meteorite so frail?" Because, the first time he saw this meteorite, it had just pounded penniless thief sect's cloudy mist, making him fall from the sky. Afterward, it had crashed to the ground and created a big hole. If this meteorite were really that frail, wouldn't it have broken into many tiny pieces when it fell to the ground along with Daoist priest cloudy mist? In addition, the first time he picked this meteorite up, Song Shuhang felt Venerable White's aura coming from it. What was the truth behind this meteorite? Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Song Shuhang started to examine the meteorite carefully. After a careful look, the top and bottom of this meteorite seem a little too smooth, just like sword cuts, Song Shuhang muttered. He could faintly feel Daoist priest cloudy mist's aura coming from the bottom. When Daoist priest cloudy mist met this meteorite, he should have tried to chop it down with his sword, leaving behind that cut. On the other hand, he could faintly feel Venerable White's aura coming from the top. But why would this meteorite have Senior White's aura on it? Song Shuhang thought to himself, is this the doing of those disposable flying swords that Senior White sent into space? Lately, Senior White had sent a lot of disposable flying swords into space. If one of those disposable flying swords hit the meteorite, it was possible that it would leave such a cut behind. Song Shuhang pressed his finger on the cracks of the meteorite. Afterward, he used his mental energy to examine the auras within. So that's how it was. Song Shuhang understood everything. After examining the cracks on the meteorite, he discovered that these were the aftermath of the clash between Senior White and Daoist priest Cloudy Mist Sword Chi. The two Sword Chi fiercely fought inside the meteorite, destroying a large part of its internal structure. That was the reason for the lightness of the meteorite when Song Shuhang lifted it. This meteorite was what you would call a rotten interior beneath a fine exterior. In other words, it was nothing but an empty shell. After the tractor turned over, the cracks on the inside spread till the surface. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. I wonder how the meteorite looks on the inside after the clash of those two kinds of sword chi, Song Shuhang suddenly thought, becoming curious. This meteorite is already full of cracks. Should I just break it and take a look? Let's do it then. The chi and blood in his heart and eye apertures exploded, concentrating in his fist. Basic fist number 1. After a loud shout, he ruthlessly smashed his right fist against the meteorite. Crack, crack, crack. Cracks spread on the surface of the meteorite like a spiderweb, and more of its surface was crumbling. Just when he was about to see the interiors of the meteorite, a bad feeling welled up in Shuhang's heart. He put a hand in his pocket and squeezed between his fingers the last armor talisman in his possession. This was to prepare against all eventualities. Boom! When it had crumbled till reaching a third of its original size, the meteorite suddenly exploded. F*CK, why did it explode? If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 248, Afterward. They enjoyed themselves to their heart's content. Chapter 248, Afterward, they enjoyed themselves to their heart's content. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. Why the hell would it explode? So unlucky. Song Shuhang sighed with emotion and quickly activated the armor talisman in his hand. He felt very sad at this moment. This was the last armor talisman in his possession. After it was used up, he would have to wait a long time before getting his hands on other life-saving treasures. After it was activated, the energy inside the talisman changed into an omnidirectional barrier with no blind spots, covering Song Shuhang's body. Boom! The core of the meteorite exploded, releasing high-temperature flames that engulfed Song Shuhang. At the same time, the meteorite broke into many small fragments that dashed toward Song Shuhang like bullets. Ding, ding, ding. The defensive barrier of the armor talisman shook again and again, and many ripples started to appear on its surface. Song Shuhang's complexion changed. He put all his strength in his feet and quickly fled from the sight. The defensive barrier of the armor talisman could block an all-out attack from a cultivator of the third stage, and now it had trouble warding this attack off. In other words, these fragments of the meteorite propelled by the explosion had an attack power that approached the third stage. Song Shuhang swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Luckily, the meteorite had exploded on this inhabited mountain slope. If it had exploded in his house, Papa Song would have cried to sleep and would have to buy a new house. Whiz, whiz, whiz. Flames were still coming out of the meteorite. Moreover, many of the fragments rushed toward the nearby tractor. After all that tossing about, the strengthening formation applied by Venerable White upon the tractor had almost exhausted its spiritual energy. Therefore, the tractor was turned into a beehive by the fragments of the meteorite. As if that wasn't enough, the high-temperature flames covering these pieces lit the fuel inside the tractor. Boom! This flashy tractor that could run up to 150 kilometers per hour and had experienced things that other tractors wouldn't experience in their entire lifetime finally exploded. However, it had lived its short life to the fullest and had no regrets. But, even in its last moments, it gave its all and used the last bit of its strength to release fire and fury upon the world. A chain of explosions followed. Does it really have to be so flashy? Song Shuhang bitterly smiled. Afterward, he operated the virtuous man's 10,000-mile walk at full power and quickly fled from the dual explosion of the tractor and the meteorite while his armor talisman was still working. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. After a long time, the explosions died out. Song Shuhang examined the armor talisman. Only a small part of its power was left. That was rather fearful. If I didn't have this armor talisman, even if I weren't dead, I would have been severely injured. Song Shuhang thought to himself. After making sure that the explosions had completely ceased, he lightly jumped and returned to the scene. A deep hole was left in the original position of the meteorite. The tractor was already changed beyond recognition, and only a blackened mass of steel and iron was left. Those A4 paper sheets that Venerable White had engraved formations upon had all exhausted their spiritual energy, turning into regular paper. Afterward, they were burned by the flames. It seems I won't need to trouble senior brother Ju Li this time. After the explosion, the tractor was thoroughly ruined. They only needed to spend some money and ask someone to come here and deal with the scrap. Song Shuhang went toward the hole left behind by the meteorite. Why did this meteorite suddenly explode? Even if the remnants of Venerable White Sword Chi clashed against Daoist Priest Cloudy Mist Sword Chi, it shouldn't be enough to turn the meteorite into a bomb, right? Unless there was also something else inside the meteorite that got activated by the Sword Chi, causing the explosion just now? Song Shuhang carefully looked in the hole, and as expected, he saw something. It was a fist-sized black stone, sparkling like a diamond. Unexpectedly, it wasn't sent flying by that fearful explosion from before, it was still in the exact center of the hole. Just as I expected, there was something here. Song Shuhang lightly jumped, entering the hole. Afterward, he cautiously stretched his fingers and touched the stone. An ice-cold feeling transmitted from his fingers. That powerful explosion from before hadn't increased the temperature of the stone at all. If I'm not mistaken, the meteorite was still burning when it hit Daoist Priest Cloudy Mist, but when I went there and tried to move it, the flame had already died out. Moreover, it had become ice-cold, and the reason behind this change should be this stone, Song Shuhang muttered. He was sure that this thing was a precious treasure. Perhaps, it was exactly that weird enlightenment stone mentioned by Venerable White. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. At this time, around 1,000 meters away from where the explosion took place, a fine and slender figure stopped walking and looked toward the site of the explosion. This figure had long green hair and 2 lovable ponytails. She was wearing a green cheongsam that served as a contrast for her fine and slender body. Her name was Lady Onion, and she was an onion spirit that had cultivated for 300 years. She had cultivated for a whole 300 years. That was quite fearful, wasn't it? But whenever someone mentioned those 300 years, Lady Onion felt like crying. 300 years ago, she was just a little wild onion that was lucky enough to take root upon a natural spiritual spring. Time passed, and one day, she suddenly turned into an onion spirit. To tell the truth, she too had no idea why she had turned into an onion spirit. Anyway, since she had become an onion spirit, then so be it. She would happily live as one from then on. And just in this fashion, she lived alone for a dozen or so years on a remote mountain, her lifestyle very carefree. Until an organization of monsters called All the Monsters of the World Should Unite and Become a Family looked for her and gave her the name Lady Onion. Then, the monster organization taught Lady Onion that 200 must have skills for a monster spirit to survive. These 200 skills were of many different types and left one stupefied. Amongst them were the divine stealing technique, how to smoothly form a team and rob a human cultivator, 500 ways to surrender to a human cultivator you're unable to beat, and ultimate seducing skill of a pretty female monster. There were also the how a female monster should become the male master's mistress, 13 moves to fight the male master's harem, how a male monster should win his female master's heart, 72 ways to successfully usurp the position of the female master's husband, and so on. When recalling these 200 must-have skills, Lady Onion felt like crying. At the time, she was fooled and even thought that these were peerless skills and ended up earnestly studying them. One day, Lady Onion felt that she was finally ready and descended from the mountain, starting to search for a human cultivator to try these skills out on. 300 years ago, China's world of cultivators was in a strange state. Most of the human cultivators were in hiding and it was difficult to find them in the mortal world. It seemed that the world of human cultivators underwent a big change back then. But Lady Onion didn't give up, she kept looking. At last, her perseverance was rewarded. One day, she found a Buddhist human cultivator. It was a very handsome Buddhist monk, and their Dharma name was Nine Lanterns. They had thick eyebrows and big eyes, their forehead was shining, and they had a thin and slender stature, as well as huge chest muscles. Since it took her a long time to find this human cultivator, Lady Onion was very happy. Therefore, she started to use all the techniques she had learned against the Buddhist monk Nine Lanterns. Now, let's briefly describe what happened. Lady Onion made the first move and used the divine stealing technique. This move was a success, and she stole the Buddhist roaring lions technique from Nine Lanterns. After suffering this move, Nine Lanterns counterattacked, displaying all sorts of profound Buddhist techniques. Lady Onion had never heard of these techniques, but their power was incredible. Lady Onion got a huge scare. Therefore, she used that how to smoothly form a team and rob a human cultivator technique. However, the skill failed because she didn't have a teammate. Lady Onion was terrified and immediately used another technique, that 500 ways to surrender to a human cultivator you're unable to beat the technique. And this skill was 50% effective. Why not 100%? Because Nine Lanterns indeed accepted her surrender. However, they decided to bring her back to a Buddhist temple and lock her up for 500 years. 500 years! She was only a small onion spirit, and after being closed up for 500 years, wouldn't she turn into a withered onion? At the time, how could she happily have fun? She didn't want that. Therefore, Lady Onion rebelled and displayed another skill, that ultimate seducing skill of a pretty female monster. And this skill was an unprecedented success. But just how successful it was? Even now, Lady Onion wasn't sure as to which words to use to describe the effects of this skill. In short, you can sum it like this: afterward, Nine Lanterns and Lady Onion partook in some tri-Buddhism. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Soon after the skill was displayed, Lady Onion was sitting on the ground with a dumbfounded look on her face. She felt that there was something wrong with the skill she had used. Its effects were different from what her master had told her. "Follow me to the temple," Nine Lanterns said, only a single sentence. Just in this fashion, the innocent Lady Onion was brought to the temple by the Buddhist monk Nine Lanterns and locked into the independent space of a pagoda. From that moment, she never saw Nine Lanterns again. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. In the years she was closed up in the pagoda, aside from the lack of freedom, she didn't suffer any other harm. Usually, a few young Buddhist monks would come over and give her things to drink and eat, and they would also frequently read her Buddhist scriptures. Moreover, an old monk would also come over and teach her about Buddhist techniques, general knowledge, and important matters regarding the world of cultivators. After gaining this knowledge, Lady Onion discovered that she had been scammed while she learned those 200 must-have skills for a monster spirit to survive. Lady Onion began to cultivate those Buddhist techniques earnestly. Her dream was to master the ultimate technique one day. And then she would look again for Nine Lanterns and defeat her in the art of Tri-Buddhism. It was regrettable that Lady Onion seemed to have no talent whatsoever for Buddhist techniques, and her practicing speed was just awful. In almost 300 years, she wasn't even able to break through the first stage. She was only able to open her heart, eye, and nose apertures. On an average, it took her 100 years for one aperture. Lady Onion almost went insane when she was closing up. But 1 year ago, the old monk finally released her from the pagoda. Afterward, she started to wander throughout all China, trying to look for a way to increase her strength. She had a very big goal. She wanted to master the ultimate technique. There is the aura of a treasure coming from where the explosion took place. Lady Onion muttered. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. A report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 249, Unexpectedly, I was forced to use this move once again. Chapter 249, Unexpectedly, I was forced to use this move once again. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. In the capacity of a 300-years-old onion spirit, she had the innate ability to detect natural resources. Her senses were even keener than humans. Then, she rushed toward the place of the explosion. Although her cultivation wasn't high, she was after all a 300-years-old nimble onion spirit. Her speed wasn't slow. Very soon, she arrived near the place of the explosion. At that point, she saw a very young human cultivator holding a blackish stone in his hand. The young man had a pale defensive barrier protecting his body. A human cultivator? Lady Onion immediately stopped and cautiously hid. After that incident with Nine Lanterns, she was terrified of human cultivators. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. As soon as Song Shuhang grabbed the black stone, he felt something change in his body. In the instant his fingers came in contact with the black stone, he felt a burst of strange energy pouring into his body from the stone. It wasn't qi and blood energy, true qi, or spiritual energy. It was something that didn't belong to the world of cultivators. However, this power could still affect cultivators. During this month, Song Shuhang had freeloaded a lot of Venerable White's luck and had many fortuitous encounters. His third aperture, the nose aperture, was almost full of qi and blood and only needed the right opportunity to be opened. When this strange energy poured inside his body, it directly started to influence his apertures. Soon after, the bottleneck of his nose aperture started to loosen up. You could regard the bottleneck of the nose aperture as a thick iron gate. A cultivator needed to continuously accumulate qi and blood in the aperture, and once it was full, they could rely on the qi and blood energy to smash the gate open. But, under the effects of the strange energy of this black stone, the thick iron gate started to weaken. From an iron gate, it first changed into a wooden one, then, it became a paper gate. And a paper gate only needed a light push to be broken through. It was a very rare opportunity that shouldn't be wasted. Song Shuhang ate one of the qi and blood pills he had brought along with him. Afterward, he started to run about in the terraced field-like mountain slope. He used the virtuous man's 10,000-mile walk, basic Buddhist fist technique, and the supplementary technique immovable body of the Buddha to adjust the quantity of qi and blood inside his body. Then, he poured all the extra qi and blood into his third aperture, the nose aperture. The ghost spirit inside the heart aperture also reacted and decided to help Song Shuhang on its own initiative, sending a stream of pure qi and blood inside his nose aperture. This increased his overall energy of 10%. After 3 rounds of the basic Buddhist fist technique, the quantity qi and blood in the nose aperture had reached the maximum level and was about to overflow. And, just in this fashion, the fearsome bottleneck was breached as though it was nothing. The third aperture, the nose aperture, was open. Song Shuhang inhaled some fresh air. When cultivators opened their first aperture, the heart aperture, they would complete their foundation and start walking on the path of a cultivator. When they opened their second aperture, the eye aperture, their eyesight would be strengthened. And when they opened the nose aperture, their sense of smell would be enhanced. However, after having your eyesight strengthened, you had many advantages. But after having your sense of smell enhanced, you had many things to worry about. Before reaching the third stage realm, cultivators were unable to control their sense of smell freely. This time, if a stinking pillar were to fall next to Song Shuhang, that foul smell would be enhanced by 100,000, or even tens of thousands of times. It would suffice to make Song Shuhang directly faint. Of course, it also had many advantages. Aside from enhancing your sense of smell, once you had opened your nose aperture, after every breath, you would inhale the wandering spiritual qi in the surrounding area into your body. Part of it would be stored inside your nose aperture, another part would integrate with your body, strengthening it. In other words, after opening the nose aperture, taking a breath was the same as cultivating. It was truly a wonderful feeling. The only problem was that Song Shuhang didn't unlock the innate skill of the nose aperture. But there was no rush. After all, he could unlock one while opening his mouth and ear apertures. After opening his eyes, Song Shuhang greedily breathed, wanting to inhale as much spiritual qi as possible inside his body. In the next instant, this smell! Song Shuhang threw up. While inhaling the spiritual qi, he also inhaled the burnt smell coming from the remains of the tractor. At this time, he felt as though his face was glued to the place where this burnt smell was coming from. Opening the nose aperture had many advantages and many disadvantages. Song Shuhang heaved a sigh. Afterward, he weighed the black stone in his hand. At this time, he was almost certain that this was the same enlightenment stone that Senior White and True Monarch Yellow Mountain were talking about. Just by standing next to the stone, he could feel the bottlenecks of his apertures weakening. Moreover, when he gazed at the stone, Song Shuhang felt an endless stream of disordered information enter his brain. He was unable to describe this information with words, but it was as though he had been suddenly enlightened. After this enlightenment, he discovered that his comprehension in regards to the basic Buddhist fist technique, true self-meditation scripture, virtuous man's 10,000-mile walk, and immovable body of the Buddha had become much deeper. He believed that if he were to use these techniques again, there would be even more changes. The key to wealth lies in taking risks, right? Song Shuhang muttered as he looked at the area where the terrifying explosion had taken place. The calamity of the meteorite falling from the sky was directed against Daoist priest Cloudy Mist. And this sudden explosion should have been his calamity, right? And the reward should precisely be this enlightenment stone. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Did he break through? He broke through just by holding that stone? The eyes of the onion spirit lit up. If she were to get a hold of that stone, she too would be able to quickly increase her strength. She had to obtain that stone at all costs. At this time, she was making various calculations in her mind. It seems that human cultivator just opened his nose aperture. On the other hand, I opened my nose aperture decades ago. Moreover, I cultivated for 300 years. I should be able to win. After thinking a bit, the onion spirit concluded that it would be no problem to take care of this small human cultivator. And right at this moment, Song Shuhang's armor talisman exhausted its energy, and the protective barrier vanished. This was the perfect opportunity. The onion spirit slowly approached Song Shuhang. After decreasing the distance between them, she suddenly got up and pointed her 10 fingers at Song Shuhang, releasing the Heavenly Dragon Temple's basic finger technique. Her fingers were like swords and would create several holes in Song Shuhang's back. After taking this attack, Song Shuhang wouldn't be able to move anymore. At that point, she would be able to easily snatch the black stone. "You finally come!" But things didn't go according to the script. Song Shuhang loudly shouted and turned his head as he mercilessly released his cannon-like basic fist number 1 toward the incoming person. To tell the truth, Song Shuhang had long ago realized that someone was sneaking up on him. After opening the nose aperture, his sense of smell was keener. Also, the figure that was approaching, although very cautious, didn't know how to restrain its aura. Therefore, Song Shuhang could smell the smell of onion emanating from its body from very far away. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. The onion spirit hadn't expected that Song Shuhang would react this quickly, and, to be honest, she didn't have any fighting-related experience. When she descended from the mountain 300 years ago, she immediately met 9 lanterns. Afterward, she was imprisoned and released only 1 year ago. She was a complete rookie when it came to fights, and she had even less experience than Shuhang. After seeing Song Shuhang's explosive fist, she clenched her teeth and used the Heavenly Dragon Temple's basic finger technique to ward it off. The strong points of a finger technique were its speed, flexibility, and ability to pierce through mere touch. The strong point of a fist technique were its fierceness and raging power. Therefore, the onion spirit was at a significant disadvantage here. The finger and the fist clashed. Song Shuhang felt the power of this heart, eye, and nose apertures combine and explode toward the outside. As a result, the onion spirit was sent flying and fell to the ground. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Song Shuhang gazed at the onion spirit and blurted out, "Quite weak. Quite weak, quite weak, quite weak." These words echoed inside the onion spirit's mind. At this time, she was furious. "Little cultivator, you're courting death." A glint of cold light flashed through the eyes of the onion spirit. A terrifying strength gushed out of her body. That strength even influenced the surrounding area, and a cold wind started to blow against Song Shuhang's face. Song Shuhang shivered. He had felt a similar strength coming from Dudu once. It was monster energy. "Little cultivator, are you afraid?" The onion spirit coldly snorted. "I'm a powerful monster that has cultivated for 300 years. You're simply courting death if you dare to oppose me." A powerful monster that has cultivated for 300 years? To be honest, Song Shuhang was really scared. The monster energy emanating from the opponent's body wasn't false, and such a huge quantity was indeed scary. "If you don't want to die, hand over that stone. Today, I'm in a good mood. If you surrender, I'll spare your small life," the onion spirit said as she clenched her teeth. Song Shuhang didn't reply and took a deep breath. At one time, he had wondered if there was something wrong with his head. When Altar Master's underlings tried to kill him, although he was very scared, he was also very excited. And now, that disease had struck once again. "If you want to take this rock away, you'll have to fight for it." Song Shuhang stretched his hand and quickly drew the character on his palm with the chi and blood energy. Then, he shouted, "Lightning Palm!" Crack, crack, crack! Lighting exploded from the center of his palm. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. When the onion spirit saw Song Shuhang using the lightning palm, she was scared to death. Sheet. Since when could first stage cultivators use something like the lightning palm? This time, she had been very careless. From start to end, she was only bluffing. Although she had accumulated a lot of monster energy in these 300 years, she had only practiced Buddhist techniques in the end. Therefore, she could only use it to intimidate her foes. It didn't have any other use. Ah, yes. She did cultivate a long time with that monster organization, right? At the time, she learned a small technique to accumulate monster energy, and those useless 200 must-have skills for a monster spirit to survive. But aside from this, they didn't even teach her the foundations of monster techniques. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. After several hundred years, I was unexpectedly forced to use this move once again, the onion spirit said coldly, gazing at Song Shuhang's lightning palm. In the next instant, she made up her mind and decided to use the 500 ways to surrender to a human cultivator you're unable to beat. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 250, Shuhang, why are you bending over your waist? Chapter 250, Shuhang, why are you bending over your waist? Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Kurisu. After finishing her sentence, Lady Onion jumped high in the sky and fiercely knelt on the ground, almost hugging the ground. Immortal, please forgive this small monster. Just now, this small monster was only joking. The small monster surrenders. Song Shuhang had lightning crackling on his hand as he gazed at the onion spirit kneeling on the ground, his expression stiff. Are you surrendering? I'm telling the truth, I'm surrendering, the onion spirit replied. Song Shuhang recovered from his stiffness and recalled scenes from movies. For example, after being defeated by the main character, the villain would kneel on the ground and beg for mercy. But in truth, he was preparing a big move. The soft-hearted main character would think of accepting the villain's surrender, but just at that time, the villain would evilly smile and launch his big move. After carefully thinking about it, Song Shuhang decided to reduce the female monster into a half-dead status with his lightning palm before proceeding any further. After all, she had cultivated for 300 years and couldn't be taken lightly. Underestimating the enemy was akin to committing suicide. He wouldn't dare to forget the words of his seniors. Therefore, Song Shuhang didn't stop and kept aiming at the female monster with the lightning palm. Although she was kneeling on the ground, Lady Onion had been secretly looking at Shuhang all along. When she saw that this small human cultivator had a resolute look in eyes and kept aiming at her with the lightning palm, her expression became gloomy. He didn't accept my surrender, so cruel. What a villain! Lady Onion clenched her teeth and magically changed into her original form, a green onion. And then, she slipped into the earth with a wheeze and disappeared without a trace. It wasn't a monster technique, but the unique innate skill of an onion spirit. After all, she was a monster born in the earth. At critical times, she could change into her original form and quickly slip into the ground. This skill was similar to the earth escape technique, but the distance it could cover was very short. While she was in her original form, aside from this innate skill, she had other strong methods to preserve her life. As long as her root was intact, she wouldn't die. Even if the part of the onion that had sprouted was cut off, as long as she could absorb nutrients from the soil, she could regrow it. Boom! Song Shuhang's lightning palm hit the ground, leaving behind a big hole. After the dust settled, he didn't see any traces of the onion spirit. As expected, he couldn't take it lightly. Song Shuhang's look became serious as he started to look around for the onion spirit. After a short while, he found her. She was hiding in a thick patch of grass not too far away. That tall and delicate green onion stalk was really eye-catching. Where do you think you're escaping to? Song Shuhang roared and dashed toward the green onion. He couldn't afford to let her escape. She knew that he had the Enlightenment Stone. Having a precious object could arouse the jealousy of others. If she were to leak this matter, he could say goodbye to his peaceful life for a very long time. How did he find me? The green onion called out in alarm. She drilled out of the soil and quickly ran away. You didn't even conceal your aura. I only need my sense of smell to find you. Song Shuhang thought to himself. Human, wait. I was really surrendering. I wasn't trying to deceive you. It was a sincere surrender, the onion spirit shouted while running away. If you stop putting up a fight and follow me, I'll accept your surrender, Song Shuhang said in a grave tone. At the very least, he wanted to bring the onion spirit to Venerable White and have her memories deleted. When Lady Onion heard the sentence "follow me," her complexion changed. She immediately recalled to mind her 300 years long imprisonment in the Heavenly Dragon Temple. Was this human cultivator also planning to catch her and close up somewhere for several hundred years? She wouldn't accept it. She had already been locked up for 300 years, and even if plant-type monsters had a relatively long lifespan, they couldn't go on living forever. If she were to be locked up for a few more centuries, she would really turn into a withered onion and pass away. She could only resort to that move. Lady Onion clenched her teeth. The last time she used that move, the effect had been completely different from what her teacher told her. Moreover, she had understood many things after being locked up in the pagoda. Those 200 must-have skills for a monster spirit to survive were a big scam. However, that technique should still have some effect in this hopeless situation. After all, every man would show tender feelings for the fairer sex. Thereafter, Lady Onion clenched her teeth and displayed her unique skill, ultimate seducing skill of a pretty female monster. Song Shuhang looked at her speechlessly. Lady Onion was dumbfounded. This young man wasn't affected by her charm? Damn it, I'll go all out now, ultimate seducing skill of a pretty female monster. Then, she swayed her body in a very sensual way. Song Shuhang. Lady Onion was surprised once again. Was the mental strength of this young man so high? At this time, Song Shuhang finally spoke. What are you trying to do? You're asking me what I'm trying to do. Don't you find my current pose very sexy and enchanting? Lady Onion asked, somewhat confused. Song Shuhang. After a while, Song Shuhang couldn't bear it anymore and said mockingly, I only see an onion buried in the ground, swaying left and right. What should I exactly find sexy and enchanting? Are you making fun of me? Lady Onion had forgotten to change back to her human form. Right now, she had the appearance of an onion that was swaying left and right in front of Shuhang. This scene was quite funny. Song Shuhang rubbed his temples. Now, he was certain that this monster in front of his eyes was really dumb. Oh? Forgive me. I was too anxious and forgot to change into my human form. After finishing her sentence, Lady Onion magically changed into a human with 2 green ponytails and a tight-fitting cheongsam. Then, she said, can we start from the beginning? Song Shuhang clenched his teeth. Stop wasting my time. I'll give you 2 choices, follow me on your own, or I'll beat you till you're unable to move and bring you back with me. Somewhat worried, Lady Onion said, no. Give me another opportunity. My ultimate seducing skill of a pretty female monster is very powerful. If you let me display it once again and you're still unaffected, I'll follow you obediently. Song Shuhang deeply sighed. Did Mother Earth wake up on the wrong side this year? All the people I've met this year are rather eccentric. No matter if it was the silly uncle from the immortal farming sect or the silly onion before his eyes, they were really too out of the ordinary. Couldn't a monster with a normal brain have come here? I would at least have a decent fight and get some experience out of it. After sighing, Song Shuhang stretched out a finger toward the onion spirit and said, then only this time, I'll give you a chance. If your technique doesn't work, you'll obediently follow me. If you dare to renege on your promise, don't blame for using a heavy hand. As he spoke, he held the last sword talisman in his hand. If the onion spirit were to try to run away, he would use the talisman to take care of it. Watch carefully then. I'll assure you that you won't be able to control yourself after looking at me. Lady Onion swung her long hair. System notification, Lady Onion used the ultimate seducing skill of a pretty female monster against Song Shuhang. Lady Onion's charm increased to 10,086. Lady Onion's charm was off the charts, and no one could resist her. No matter if it was a man or a woman, they couldn't withstand this charm. Go, young man, mess her up for good. The onion spirit was cheerfully swaying her body while charmingly looking at Song Shuhang. She had a lot of confidence in her charm. If even a woman couldn't resist her, how could a small male cultivator? Then, Lady Onion finished her performance with a hop. Clap, clap, clap. Song Shuhang clapped his hands. That was a good hop. Well done. That's it? Lady Onion didn't dare to believe the reality before her eyes. Didn't I coordinate and even give you an applause? Wasn't that enough? You have to know that I have very high standards. Song Shuhang said while standing up with his waist bent over. But enough chit-chat, do as you promised. Don't struggle and come with me. Otherwise, I'll beat you up until you can't move and still bring you with me. Why are you even a man? How can you remain unaffected? Lady Onion pointed at Song Shuhang and screamed. He. Song Shuhang kept his waist bent, trying to hide his boner, and made a fist, sneering, hearing your words just now, it seems I'll have to beat you till you're at death's door. I'm sorry. I take those words back, okay? And I'll also obediently follow you, fine? Lady Onion felt like crying. She could solve this problem neither through words nor strength. Song Shuhang nodded satisfied. At this time, Zhao Yaya's sports car came over. Her timing was just perfect. If she were a little early, she would have seen the scene of the explosion. If she were a little late, Song Shuhang would have already headed home with the onion spirit. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Change into an onion and follow me. Song Shuhang took out his sword talisman and said to the onion spirit, don't even think about escaping. If you try to escape, you're as good as dead. With Song Shuhang threatening her, she obediently changed into an onion. At the same time, she requested, Immortal, for how long are you planning to lock me up? Can you seal me for not too long? I was just locked up for 300 years. She was locked up for 300 years? Song Shuha's heart softened. She was really pitiful. Seeing that Song Shuhang didn't reply, Lady Onion got anxious. Otherwise, I can give you a cultivation technique to decrease the time I have to stay locked up. 300 years ago, she stole a set of techniques from 9 lanterns. Afterward, 9 lights never came back to retrieve it. Don't worry. You won't be locked up for too long. Now, we'll go back and see a senior. If we hurry up, you'll be released in a few days, Song Shuhang replied. Really? The onion spirit's eyes lit up. Song Shuhang sighed, yes, I have no reason to deceive you. Good. Lady Onion had calmed down. Afterward, Song Shuhang grabbed the onion and lightly jumped, arriving at the edge of the mountain road. Here, he waited for Zhao Yaya's arrival. After stopping her sports car, Zhao Yaya made a beautiful U-turn. Quickly get in the car. Aunt is super mad, and I'm not sure how long Uncle will be able to hold out. He secretly told me to bring you back as soon as possible, Zhao Yaya said with a smile. When she brought Papa Song and others back, Mama Song was somewhat confused. But when she discovered that Papa Song and the others got into an accident, she lost her temper. Right now, Papa Song, Old Lu, and Lu Tuanyu were sitting in a row, being brutally scolded by Mama Song. Therefore, Papa Song hoped that Zhao Yaya could bring Song Shuhang back as soon as possible and let him appease Mama Song's anger. Aha! Song Shuhang laughed. Afterward, he crawled into the car with his waist still bent. Shuhang, why are you bending over your waist? Zhao Yaya asked, somewhat confused. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 251, Absolutely Prohibited. Chapter 251, Absolutely Prohibited. Translator, Stardew 5T Editor, Karisu. Ha, I accidentally strained my back, it'll be okay after a while. Song Shuhang made a hollow laugh and after sitting properly, he carefully grabbed the monster onion. At the same time, he placed the fist-sized stone, possibly the Enlightenment Stone, into his pocket. Zhao Yaya only casually asked and then she started up her sports car, driving towards Song Shuhang's house. Right, previously you got someone to help you with the tractor. Is it settled? Earlier on, she didn't get off her car and hence, she couldn't see the tractor combusting and turning into scrap iron, as well as the traces of explosion at the site, which was why she asked. Ha, the tractor did have a small accident after that. But it's fine, I will call my friend to help settle it in a while. Song Shuhang made another hollow laugh. Oh. Zhao Yaya nodded and asked, Shuhang, you recently changed a lot, huh? When I met you in June you weren't this tall. And also, where did you learn that skill that lets you move so nimbly? She had too many questions she wanted to ask Song Shuhang. Be it about Song Shuhang carrying Papa Song and the others from mountain slope till the mountain road, or that tractor that could race past a sports car. But comparatively, she was more curious about his skills than the tractor. Where did he get it from? When you met me in June, wasn't I working out and training persistently? My physique became a lot better before I noticed. Song Shuhang laughed heartily and said, also, during that period of time, a good friend of mine sent me something good, it is very effective. After we get home, I will let you try it. What he was referring to was that spirit green tea. Since he met Zhao Yaya, he'd take the opportunity to give her a portion. Something good? The corner of Zhao Yaya's mouth rose, and she asked, and also, what's the deal with that tractor? Song Shuhang knew that everyone would ask that question, and hence he had already prepared an answer. That tractor had undergone modification to strengthen it. The specific details of the process is classified information, because the technology belongs to my friend. Without his approval, it's not very nice of me to spill the method. Zhao Yaya nodded, expressing that she understood. Oh, Aunt mentioned that you brought back a friend who kept sleeping, is that him? That's him. When Song Shuhang thought of Venerable White, who was in the midst of secluded meditation, he felt a little depressed. Right now, Song Shuhang was very afraid that Senior White might accidentally use his illusory reality and create that desert while in secluded meditation. If it really happened, what should he do? Hopefully his family members weren't that unlucky. At the same time, he had to quickly look for Dudu and the small monk and get them back. At least he had to firstly get Dudu to set up a defense against the illusory world, in order not to let the desert metamorphosed by Senior White appear once again. Right, since he had already reached Wenju City, he'd better give Dudu a call first. Hence, Song Shuhang took out his phone and made a call. This time, Dudu's call got connected very quickly. Hello, is this little friend Shuhang? The voice on the other line did not belong to Dudu, but heaven-shrouding hooked Ju Li, the person that helped Dudu settle his problems. Hey, senior brother Ju Li, it's you. Where's Dudu? Song Shuhang asked out of curiosity. He just accompanied the small monk Guigua to look for the hemorrhoid surgeon, so he passed his phone to me temporarily. I am looking at them from the outside. Ju Li sighed deeply. In the afternoon today, when he just finished helping Dudu settle the traffic accident, Dudu gave him another call and summoned him. Initially, he'd thought it was something important, but only after he got there did he find out that Dudu actually wanted him to accompany the small monk to the hospital to get the hemorrhoid surgery, reason being that the small monk was too young, so when he went to the hospital, it was mandatory for an adult to accompany him to sign and register. Ju Li really did not know whether to laugh or cry. Brother Ju Li, thanks for your trouble. Song Shuhang consoled him. Thanks. Ju Li sighed deeply once again and said, Dudu said that the small monk's hemorrhoids still require another round of treatment tomorrow. I will send them to you tomorrow in the afternoon, little friend Shuhang. Is that okay? Thanks for your trouble. Song Shuhang replied. If that was the case, he did not have to specially pick up the small monk and Dudu. It's no trouble, it's what I have to do. Ju Li laughed, and at the end, he lowered his voice and muttered audibly, actually, senior brother also occasionally wants a holiday, just 1 week will do. No problem, brother Ju Li. After you send Dudu over to me, this time, I promise I wouldn't let him stir up any trouble for a week, Song Shuhang assured him. Thank you. Shuhang, thank you so much, said senior brother Ju Li. You're welcome. Actually, senior brother, a small accident just happened over at my side. The tractor that Song Bai drove back charged out of the road and fell into the valley. When you come over, I would like you to help settle the site of the accident, you're my only hope, Song Shuhang said embarrassingly. He was giving senior brother Ju Li more trouble again. Song Bai? Oh, Senior White. No problem, when I get to your place, I'll help you settle it. Senior brother Ju Li readily agreed. Okay, so that's settled, see you, senior brother Ju Li. Song Shuhang secretly heaved a sigh of relief. After waiting for Xu Hang to hang up, Zhao Yaya casually asked, "Is he the friend that you mentioned before, who will settle the tractor issue?" "Yeah, that's him. By then, he will make sure that the site of the accident will be returned to normal." "I'm troubling him again." Song Shuhang smiled embarrassingly. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Meanwhile, Jiangshui Civil Aviation Training Center. Li Jr. finally woke up. When he was awake, he abruptly jumped from his bed. The muscles in his entire body were tensed up. Eh? Why did I anxiously jump out of the bed in such a manner? Instructor Li Jr.'s face was filled with bewilderment. Immediately after, he saw a bunch of people sitting next to his bed. It was Caselli and 5-6 other flying instructors from the Aviation Academy. At this moment, they were all squeezed together in the small lounge, using giant panda-like eyes to stare at Instructor Li Jr. Caselli smiled brightly at Li Jr. and said, "Li Jr., you finally woke up." Upon seeing her smile, Instructor Li Jr.'s face was slightly burning. Caselli, a Western beauty, was the goddess in Jiangshui Civil Aviation Training Center. She was the love interest of many flying instructors there, including Instructor Li Jr. "Say something, Li Jr., what happened within the 2 days you spent with the 2 rich guys? They brought you to somewhere fun?" One of the flying instructors couldn't wait any longer and asked. "Rich guys? Brought me to somewhere fun?" Instructor Li Jr.'s had a puzzled expression on his face. Living room, Song Shuhang also followed. In the meantime, he put the onion spirit on the cupboard at the entrance of the living room. After all, she had the appearance of an onion now. He couldn't casually put her wherever he wanted. What if Mama Song were to get a hold of her and cook her? Obediently stay here and don't move. Otherwise, the talisman in my hand will show no mercy. Song Shuhang gave her a final warning and showed her the last sword talisman. When Lady Onion felt the terrifying sword chi coming from the sword talisman, she was so scared that she started to shiver. After settling the question of the onion spirit, Song Shuhang entered the living room with quick steps. "Ma, I'm back." Song Shuhang revealed a bright smile and said to Mama Song, "Ma, there are guests now. You should attend to elder sister Yaya and her friends first. Moreover, father and the others should have understood that they were in the wrong by now. And once the guests are gone, it won't be too late to scold them again." Little Mice Wei laughed and waved her hand. "It doesn't matter, you don't need to mind us." Papa Song coughed and said, "Cough. Wife, you can't neglect the guests. As for today's matter, old Lu and I drank too much and didn't know what we were doing. However, we deeply regret our actions. Sister-in-law, it's all my fault. It all happened because I couldn't control myself." Old Lu immediately followed suit and admitted his mistakes. "I'm also at fault. I should have stopped father and uncle." Lu Tuanyu also followed their example. Mama Song glared at the three, but thanks to Song Shuhang's persuasion, she decided to temporarily let them off. "Yaya, I'll prepare some tea for you girls. Sit down and take a rest in the meantime," Mama Song said. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. After Mama Song was gone, Papa Song heaved a sigh of relief. At this time, old Lu said, "Shu Hang, I'm sorry for what happened to your tractor. Is it still in good condition?" It was a tractor that could run up to 150 kilometers per hour. If it were to be damaged, how would he even compensate Shu Hang? Even a wealthy person couldn't afford that terrifying thing. It had some problems, but it's nothing too serious. I can take care of it by myself. Uncle Lu, you don't need to worry. After hearing these words, old Lu secretly heaved a sigh of relief. However, he still decided to wait a few days and look for an opportunity to compensate Shu Hang. He was a true man. Since he had caused an accident and overturned the tractor, he would find a way to compensate for it. But the problem was how to make up for it. He would have to think about it carefully after returning home. "Old Lu, don't think too much about it. Chenyu, let us go in the studio and chat a bit. Let's leave the youngsters here," Papa Song said as he pulled away old Lu and Lu Tuanyu. Lu Tuanyu wanted to cry but had no tears. I'm only 2 years older than Xu Hang. Although I have a big build, I'm also young. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Song Xu Hang chatted a bit with Yaya and the others, and when he saw Mama Song boiling water for the tea, he recalled the spirit green tea. Elder sister Yaya, wait a moment. I'll give you a good thing. Song Xu Hang smiled. It's the thing you talked about before. Zhao Yaya asked. Yes, Song Xu Hang replied. He was taking his leave not only for the spirit green tea but also to take a look at Venerable White's current state. Moreover, his big suitcase was placed at the entrance of his room after Zhao Yaya brought it back. Inside this suitcase were 1 million RMB, medicine pills, the treasured saber broken tyrant, soul beads, the spirit green tea, and many other things. If Mama Song were to bump into the suitcase and discover the cash and the saber, added to the wounded Daoist priest Cloudy Mist, who knew what she might think. Thereafter, Xu Hang wanted to take advantage of this opportunity and bring it inside the room. Inside the room, Senior White was lying on the bed, still in a meditative state. Luckily, he didn't create any illusion this time. Song Xu Hang heaved a sigh of relief. First, he took out some soul beads from the suitcase and positioned them next to his chest. The ghost spirit came out of the heart aperture and gulped them down at once. Afterward, it returned to the heart aperture, satisfied. Today, when it helped him open the nose aperture, the ghost spirit had consumed a lot of energy. Next, Song Xu Hang got a hold of the spirit green tea and the treasured saber broken tyrant. He took the spirit green tea because he wanted to give a small portion of it to Yaya and the others, and he took out the saber as a preventive measure. This saber was the best treasure of the Moon Saber sect and could even cut the body of a 4th stage cultivator. With the help of this sharp blade, even if the onion spirit were to rebel, he could cut her into 2 pieces with 1 slash. I'll hang it up in the living room for now, saying that it's an ornament. Song Xu Hang thought of this plan. Then, he hid the suitcase under the bed. Afterward, he came out of the room carrying the treasured saber broken tyrant in one hand and the small box of spirit green tea in the other. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Just as he came out of the room, he met Mama Song. Xu Hang, tell Yaya and her friends to stay over for dinner. Since old Lu was coming, I have prepared a lot of dishes. I'll make them eat a lot of delicacies in the evening, Mama Song said. Sure, no problem, Song Xu Hang said. Also, can you go to the cooking utensils shop in the neighboring street and buy me a kitchen knife to cut bones? I specially bought some spare ribs this morning, but when I was cooking at noon, the knife in our house suddenly broke, Mama Song said. Afterward, her sight fell on the treasured saber broken tyrant in Song Xu Hang's hand. Where does that blade come from? Mama Song asked. A friend gifted it to me. It's a decorative item, Song Xu Hang replied. A decorative item? How sharp is it? Mama Song was somewhat confused. Can you let me take a look at it? It's a little heavy. Be careful, Mom. Song Xu Hang had no choice but to give her the blade. Mama Song took the saber and said, it's indeed a little heavy, and seems quite solid. How can it not be solid? It can even cut the body of a 4th stage cultivator, and it's very good at breaking defenses, Song Xu Hang thought to himself. You want to hang it in the living room, right? However, it worries me a little since it's a sharp blade. I hope it doesn't injure anyone if it falls. Mama Song returned the saber to Song Xu Hang and added, after hanging it in the living room, quickly go to the shop to buy me the bone-cutting knife. Do you need money? Don't worry, I still have some left. Song Xu Hang laughed and took the saber, heading toward the living room. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. In the living room, Zhao Yaya and her friends were discussing something, and from time to time, they would cheerfully laugh. After seeing Xu Hang, Zhao Yaya curiously looked at treasured saber in his hand and said, Xu Hang, was this the good thing you were talking about? No, this is just a decorative item that a friend gifted me. I'm hanging it in the living room. After finishing his sentence, he waved the small box in his other hand. This is the good thing I wanted to give you. after hanging broken tyrant on the wall, Song Shuhang gave to Zhao Yaya and her friends a cup of boiling water each. Then, he added 2 leaves of the spirit green tea to each cup. So, this was the good thing? Tea leaves? Zhao Yaya curiously looked over. Afterward, she reacted just like Shu Hang's roommates at the time and said, "Shu Hang, aren't you being too stingy? Even if it were the famous oolong tea from Mount Wui, you wouldn't put so little of it in each cup, right? Hee, don't take things for granted. You'll understand after tasting it," Song Shuhang said calmly. Next, he delivered the 3 cups to the girls. Then, just like his roommates at the time, Zhao Yaya and her friends took the cups, somewhat suspicious. Then, after blowing on them, they took a sip of tea. Soon after, the eyes of the girls lit up. It was only boiled tea, and yet, when they drank it, a strange and refreshing feeling spread from their throats and reached their bellies. In this hot summer, it felt as though their body had been cleansed from the inside out. They felt refreshed and very comfortable. Moreover, the fragrance of the tea lingered in their mouth for a very long time. And this was the effect of only 2 leaves. Little Mice Wei was breathless. She had drunk a lot of famous teas, but she had never drunk something like this. "Won't the taste become even better if you add more leaves?" "You can't add more," Song Shuhang explained. "Although this tea tastes very good, you can only put 2 tea leaves in 1 cup. If you put more than 2, it'll be bad for your health. Moreover, you can only drink 1 cup a day, no more than that." Afterward, he gave the small box to Zhao Yaya. These tea leaves were also a gift from someone. "Inside this box are 3 packets, it's a gift for you girls." This was to thank them for their help today. For now, he would let them divide the content of this box. And one of these days, he would specially prepare a share for Zhao Yaya. After all, he only had a limited amount of spirit green tea. Therefore, he could only give it away in small amounts. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Afterward, Song Shuhang said goodbye to the girls and went to the cooking utensils shop in the neighboring street to buy that kitchen knife to cut bones. However, he didn't forget to carry off the small onion on the cupboard before going out. He didn't dare to leave this onion spirit in his house all alone. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 253, How come I can't cut this green onion? Chapter 253, How come I can't cut this green onion? Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. When Song Shuhang left to buy the kitchen knife, Mama Song jogged till the entrance and shouted to Song Shuhang, who was downstairs, "Shuhang, buy a bottle of soy sauce while you're at it. The bottle we had at home is almost finished." "Sure, no problem," replied Song Shuhang as he waved his hand. "And be careful on the road," Mama Song added before shutting the door. And once Song Shuhang was far away. On the cupboard, a tender green onion popped out from behind a box. "HMPH, foolish human. Did you really think you had me under control? Ridiculous. After all, I'm a powerful monster that has cultivated for 300 years. Unexpectedly, he even dared to threaten me," the onion spirit said proudly. The green onion that Song Shuhang took with him was a very ordinary green onion. No matter how weak it was, this onion spirit was still a monster. Aside from the innate ability to drill into the earth and ran away, she had another ability that all monsters possessed, the ability to make herself invisible. Of course, every cultivator that had completed their foundation establishment could see invisible monsters. But that wasn't a problem in this case, because Mama Song and the others were only normal people and couldn't see her. Therefore, when Song Shuhang went in his room to care of his suitcase, Lady Onion quietly went into the kitchen and picked a sprouted green onion of the same size as her. Afterward, she placed it on the cupboard and rubbed her body against it, leaving her smell behind. This way, Song Shuhang wouldn't find anything unusual about the green onion. As for herself, she hid behind a small box on the cupboard. Afterward, she started to wait patiently, wait for Song Shuhang to leave and take that green onion with him. As long as Song Shuhang was gone, she could easily run away. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. And then, everything went according to the plan. Her luck was really good today. It was as though God was helping her. Song Shuhang also didn't think too much while going out. He casually picked the green onion on the cupboard and left to buy the bone-cutting kitchen knife. However, Lady Onion didn't get impatient and waited till his footsteps and aura completely disappeared. Only at that time did she pop out from behind that box. Now, it's time to flee. I have to run very far away and not let that Song Shuhang catch me ever again. Lady Onion muttered. She had no intention of harming Song Shuhang's family. It's not like the thought hadn't crossed her mind, however, she didn't dare to. She could faintly feel two powerful presences in the house. These two auras were really too terrifying, and in Lady Onion's mind, they were like the sun and the moon in the sky, something that you absolutely couldn't neglect. Therefore, she didn't dare to cause a ruckus here. As long as she could successfully escape, it was all good. Long live freedom! Lady Onion howled in a low voice. Afterward, she quietly revealed half of her body, preparing to run away. At this time, Mama Song's voice suddenly echoed, "Ah? There is unexpectedly a green onion here?" Soon after, Lady Onion felt someone grab her. It was Mama Song. Actually, it wouldn't have been a problem for Lady Onion to avoid Mama Song's hand, but one of the two powerful auras in the house slightly moved and sent out a groan. Lady Onion was scared to death and therefore Mama Song caught her with no difficulty. "I don't remember putting a green onion here though?" Mama Song was confused. However, she still brought Lady Onion in the kitchen. Afterward, she put her together with other green onions. There aren't too many green onions home. "Should I make lamb with fried green onions then?" Mama Song muttered. After hearing these words, Lady Onion was alarmed. Damn it! What does she want to do? Is she planning to cut me up and cook me? Just as she was thinking this, Mama Song picked up the knife and started to cut the green onions. Damn it! I'm a powerful monster that has cultivated for 300 years. And you're unexpectedly treating me like a normal green onion? What a joke! Lady Onion was very angry. If this green onion doesn't show her strength, these guys might even confuse me with garlic chives. Therefore, she decided to show her strength and let this human know how scary she was. But right at this time, one of those two powerful auras sent out another groan. After hearing this groan, Lady Onion immediately shrank. It's not so bad after all. If you want to cut me, then do it. A normal knife couldn't hurt her anyway. Once this foolish human discovered that her kitchen knife wasn't able to cut her, she should give up, right? Cut, cut! Mama Song was very quick, and in the blink of an eye, she had already cut all the green onions, except Lady Onion, into tiny pieces. Lady Onion quietly looked at her brethren that had met a cruel end. This was just too horrible. Those were her brothers and sisters. And now, this human had cut them into tiny pieces. Lady Onion felt sad and aggrieved. Eh? How come this one is still whole? At this time, Mama Song looked at the undamaged Lady Onion, her face filled with confusion. Does this kitchen knife have problems? She held Lady Onion and tried cut her up again. When the kitchen knife tried to cut Lady Onion's body, it felt as though it was trying to cut an extremely hard oxide, and it didn't damage it in the slightest. Moreover, when Mama Song put all her strength into the knife, she unexpectedly felt the knife being repelled. Question mark. Mama Song was at a loss. Are you surprised? Ooh? Although my cultivation level is low, I'm still a monster that has cultivated for 300 years. How can a small knife made of iron injure me? Lady Onion said, self-satisfied. Of course, Mama Song couldn't hear her voice. Has this knife become too dull? Mama Song looked at the knife in her hand. Therefore, she tried to use it to cut other things such as the lamb and the cabbage. But strangely enough, it cut everything quickly and easily. Thereafter, Mama Song turned her head and tried once again to cut Lady Onion. Needless to say, the outcome was the same as before, and she couldn't cut her no matter how much she tried. Just what was happening? Is it possible that this is not a green onion, but something else with a similar shape? Mama Song raised Lady Onion and smelled her. But after smelling the rich fragrance of green onion, it seemed that this was indeed a green onion. Mama Song was dumbfounded. After staring blankly for a while, her eyes suddenly lit up. For some unknown reason, she recalled to mind Song Shuhang's ornamental saber. Maybe I should try to use that saber? Anyway, it's just a green onion, and it's unlikely to dirty Shuhang's ornamental saber. When she thought of something, she would do it. Mama Song had passed this fine tradition to Song Shuhang too. Then, Mama Song ran toward the living room with Lady Onion still in her hands. Afterward, she took down the ornamental saber from the wall and quickly returned to the kitchen, all of this under the confused looks of Zhao Yaya and her friends. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 254, A Meeting Plot with Plot. Chapter 254, A Meeting Plot with Plot. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. After buying the bone-cutting kitchen knife and the bottle of soy sauce, Song Shuhang rushed home at full speed. I was unexpectedly fooled by that onion spirit. The green onion in his hand was a normal one. But since it had the smell of the monster onion on it, it was able to fool him temporarily. While he was buying the bottle of soy sauce, he used his right hand, which was holding the onion spirit, to get a hold of it. However, he carelessly put too much strength in his fingers, and as a consequence, the onion spirit broke into 2 pieces. It actually broke into 2 pieces. Song Shuhang wasn't a fool and immediately realized that the onion spirit in his hand was a fake. As for the real one, it should still be in his house, or perhaps it had already run away. Damn it, I was too careless. Up until now, Song Shuhang had been very careful when dealing with matters regarding the world of cultivators. He didn't expect to make such a mistake while dealing with this onion spirit. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. After getting home, Song Shuhang shot a look around and tried to gauge the situation. Afterward, he heaved a sigh of relief. Everything seemed to be fine. Zhao Yaya and her friends were whispering something in the living room. Papa Song, Old Lu, and Lu Tuanyu were chatting in the studio, and Mama Song was still busy in the kitchen. It seemed that the onion spirit hadn't caused any trouble. Then, did she directly run away? Song Shuhang secretly operated the True Self meditation scripture and displayed a small trick based on the manipulation of mental energy, their mental detection. Now that he had opened 3 apertures, Song Shuhang's mental energy was much higher than before. If he were to release all his mental energy, he could cover the entire house. When he used his mental detection, Zhao Yaya and her friends, and also Papa Song and the others, all stopped talking. They felt as though someone was spying on them, making them feel somewhat uncomfortable. At the same time, all the things in the house, even the ants crawling in dark corners, appeared in Song Shuhang's mind. Of course, the picture in his mind was very rough. Although he could feel the presence of these ants, they appeared as small pixels in his mind. As for human beings which were bigger, they appeared such as in old videotape recordings. After searching for a long time, Song Shuhang wasn't able to find the onion spirit. That was rather troublesome. If the fugitive onion spirit were to leak the fact that he had the enlightenment stone, he would be in deep trouble. Ah? Wait! What is my mother grasping in her hands? That 1-meter-long thing, isn't that my treasured saber Broken Tyrant? What is my saber doing there? Just as he was wondering what was happening, he saw Mama Song come out of the kitchen with Broken Tyrant in her hands. Eh? Shuhang, you're finally back. Why are you standing at the entrance with a dumbfounded look on your face? Quickly give me the bone-cutting kitchen knife and the bottle of soy sauce, I just happen to need them, Mama Song said to Song Shuhang as she waved Broken Tyrant. Cough. Mother, what are you doing with that saber? Song Shuhang swallowed a mouthful of saliva and asked. Ahaha, this ornamental saber of yours isn't half bad. It's very comfortable to use and even sharper than I thought. If I weren't afraid of dirtying it, I would have used it to cut the spare ribs, Mama Song said with a smile. Then, she added, yes. Earlier, I found a green onion on the cupboard. Perhaps it inadvertently fell there when I came back from the market. Anyway, I decided to bring it in the kitchen and cut it up to prepare the lamb with fried green onions. But strangely enough, no matter how hard I tried, I wasn't able to cut it into pieces. After speaking this much, Mama Song frowned, speaking of which, it is quite strange. I've never seen a green onion that even a knife couldn't cut. In hindsight, I think there was something fishy about it. Shit, Mom actually brought Lady Onion in the kitchen. Aha, you're right. That green onion was indeed special. It was a gift from a friend and should be a new species of green onion. I brought it home because I wanted to cultivate it, he. Song Shuhang said some random nonsense with a serious face. It wasn't a good situation. Lately, he had to lie more and more to cover these matters related to the world of cultivators. Oh? So, it was a new species you brought back. No wonder. Mama didn't think too much about it and accepted Shuhang's explanation. Song Shuhang heaved a sigh of relief. Wait. Mother was holding broken tire and, did something happen to the onion spirit? Song Shuhang swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Ma, where is that green onion now? Oh, I cut it up. I tried to use the kitchen knife but couldn't damage it. Then, I remembered about this ornamental saber of yours. I took it down from the wall and tried to cut the green onion with it. The process was very smooth, it just took me a few slashes to cut it into tiny pieces. This blade is very good, Mama Song said with a smile. Song Shuhang was immediately dumbfounded. And what about those pieces? Of course, they became part of the lamb with fried green onions. That new species of green onion was really amusing. The kitchen knife wasn't able to cut it, but after I cut it with the saber, it quickly fried in the oil. It smelled very good, and we'll be able to taste it in a while. I have high expectations of that lamb with fried green onions. Mama Song said self-satisfied. Lamb with fried green onions, lamb with fried green onions, lamb with fried green onions. Did that onion spirit die? Moreover, why didn't it try to resist? Why did she allow Mom to cut her up in such a critical situation? What about the root of the green onion? Do you still have it? This was Song Shuhang's last hope. Maybe the green onion could survive even if the sprouted part was cut off. After all, it was a plant-type monster. Perhaps it could survive as long as its root was intact? I threw it on a side in the kitchen. Why are you asking about it? Ah, right. I forgot that you wanted to cultivate this new variety. Mama Song pointed at the kitchen. Go to the kitchen and search amidst the various green onions' roots on the edge of the cutting board. I'll go in the living room and hang this ornamental saber back on the wall. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Song Shuhang quickly went into the kitchen and noticed the root of the onion spirit. It was emanating the strong aura that belonged to an onion spirit. Hello, are you still alive? Song Shuhang asked in a soft voice. However, the onion spirit didn't reply and only slightly shook. It seems that it's still alive. Song Shuhang secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he picked up the root of the green onion and looked at the lamb with fried green onions that Mama Song was so proud of. A lamb with a 300-years-old fried onion spirit. Isn't this dish a bit too over the top? Would people die after eating it? After thinking a bit, Song Shuhang took out his mobile phone and quickly typed in the 9 provinces #1 group. Stressed by a mountain of books, seniors, my 300-years-old onion spirit was cut into pieces by my mother to prepare some lamb with fried green onions. Now, only its root is left. Can it still be saved? Moreover, if someone eats a lamb with a 300-years-old fried onion spirit, will they die? I'm waiting for answers, very worried. His mother was very proud of this dish, and in a while, she would bring it to the table and let everyone taste it. What would he do if everyone ended up poisoned by this food? If their lives were in danger, he would immediately get rid of this dish. Very soon, someone replied. It was Senior Northern River. As long as he was online, he was the first one to reply. A 300 years old onion spirit? That's pretty uncommon. I'll answer your first question. As long as the root of the onion spirit has not suffered too much damage, it can be saved. Just plant it and pour some water from a spiritual spring on it every day. With that, it should recover. As for the second question, I haven't ever tasted a lamb with a 300 years old fried onion spirit. Therefore, I can't say for sure. At this time, Scholar Drunken Moon also replied, as for your second question, if your mother is an immortal chef such as Immortal Fairy B. Schwer, then eating lamb with a 300 years old fried onion spirit would be very beneficial. If a mortal were to eat it, even their lifespan would increase. Stressed by a mountain of books, Senior, my mother is just an average person. Scholar Drunken Moon, I see. In this case, a normal person mustn't eat it. A 300 years old onion spirit would have a lot of monster chi inside, and a normal person would surely enter a confusional state after eating it. Stressed by a mountain of books, what will happen after they enter this confusional state? Scholar Drunken Moon, after they enter this confusional state, they will die in a very amusing way. So many different ways that you can't even count them. However, you better not try it just because you're curious. Song Shuhang. Who the hell would try something like this just because they're curious? Scholar Drunken Moon continued, moreover, I think that even cultivators would have to pay attention to this lamb with a 300 years old fried onion spirit. It would be troublesome if they were affected by the monster chi inside. Song Shuhang heaved a sigh. Even if someone were to serve him such a dish, he wouldn't eat it. How could he bear to eat it after knowing that the onion spirit could turn into a sweet and charming girl? He was a normal man and didn't have weird fetishes. As expected, he had to get rid of this dish. He felt sorry for this mother, but there was no way around it. At this time, thrice reckless Mad Saber popped out and said, Little friend Shuhang, are you planning to sell this 300 years old onion spirit? I'm collecting ingredients for Immortal Fairy B. Schwer's Immortal Feast. Perhaps, this onion spirit could come in handy. After a short while, Song Shuhang replied, Senior, I can't do this. This onion spirit went through a lot of hardships and practiced for 300 years, gaining intellect and learning how to assume a human form. I don't really feel like delivering her to the Immortal Feast and have someone eat her. After all, she is a living being just like us. When Song Shuhang sent this message, the people in the group turned quiet for a moment. Wait, what? Thrice reckless Mad Saber sent a mind-blown emoji. Did you just say that the onion spirit has intelligence and can assume a human form? A 300 years old onion spirit that can assume human form? Northern River's loose cultivator also asked. How were you able to seize her if she can already assume human form? Let alone fry her and put her on the lamb, Scholar Drunken Moon also questioned. It should be impossible. Are you sure that you weren't confused by the naturally produced monster chi of the onion spirit? A 300 years old onion spirit should have stored up only a little amount of monster chi and shouldn't have developed any intelligence, Cave Lord Snow Wolf said surprised. Seeing all the seniors reacting in the same way, Song Shuhang said, somewhat confused, what's so strange about a monster onion assuming a human form? At this time, True Monarch Yellow Mountain said, Shuhang, let me explain things with an example. For instance, Dudu's current strength is comparable to that of a cultivator at the peak of the 4th stage. He only needs a small push to condense a monster core and grasp the ability to change his appearance. A monster core is the equivalent of the golden core of a human cultivator, and without a core, a monster can forget about changing into human form. Even animal-type monsters have to go through so much trouble to assume a human form, let alone a plant-type monster that doesn't even have intellect at first. The onion spirit in your hands in very peculiar, Medicine Master slowly replied. Thrice reckless Mad Saber guessed, you should plant and cultivate her. Then, try to observe if she has any distinctive features. She might even have some hidden treasure on her body. Northern River's loose cultivator also said, perhaps this monster onion has some ancient bloodline? The seniors in the group started to send all sorts of comments, and after a while, Song Shuhang put away his phone. He took the lamb with fried green onions, and after thinking a bit, he decided to throw it in the dustbin of the kitchen. This time, he had no other choice but to throw away Mama Song's dish and the 300-years-old green onion sprout. But just as he was preparing to open the dustbin and throw the lamb inside, he heard Mama Song's footsteps approaching. She was quickly coming toward the kitchen. Song Shuhang immediately stopped what he was doing. The door of the kitchen was made of 2 panels of glass and was therefore transparent. If he were to throw the lamb in the dustbin, Mama Song would see him even from far away. And if couldn't think of a good excuse at the time, Mama Song would certainly lose her temper. What was he supposed to do? Song Shuhang operated his brain at full speed. At this time, Mama Song came over and pushed the glass door open. Shuhang, did you find the root of the green onion? Song Shuhang clenched his teeth and opened his mouth, quickly gulping down the lamb with fried green onions. When Mama Song finished her sentence, he had already eaten all the lamb. Mama Song. Ma, it was really delicious. Ahaha, I was careless and ate it all, it was just too delicious. Unfortunately, there is none left for Dad and the others. Song Shuhang held his thumb up in approval. Mama Song didn't know whether to laugh or cry and used her finger to flick Shuhang's forehead. Hee hee. Song Shuhang foolishly laughed and ran away from the kitchen, heading toward his room. Since he hadn't digested it yet, he had to hurry and quickly throw everything up. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. After running to his room, Song Shuhang closed the door. Afterward, he tried to find a method to throw everything up. But just as he was trying to find a way to spit everything out, he suddenly sat on the ground, his face stupefied. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't spit it out. It was as though his body had no concept whatsoever of throwing up. No matter which method he used, they were all useless. At the same time, he started to feel his stomach turn hot. This feeling was similar to drinking warm soup during winter. A warm feeling spread from his stomach to his underbelly. After thinking of what the seniors in the group had said about the lamb with a 300-years-old fried onion spirit, he felt that he was in trouble. Why do I feel that there is something wrong with my recent life experiences? Song Shuhang took a deep breath and returned to the bedside. On the bed, Senior White was lying perfectly still, he was still closing up. It would be very good if Senior White were to suddenly wake up. He would need only a finger to solve my current crisis, right? But this time, he could only rely on himself. Song Shuhang sat cross-legged on the bedside and closed his eyes, starting to operate the true self-meditation scripture. He wanted to see if there was any way to absorb this strange energy that was spreading from his stomach. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Ahaha, you thought you could spit everything out after eating me? Naive. At this time, the self-satisfied laughter of the onion spirit echoed from Song Shuhang's pocket. When Mama Song suddenly grabbed her, she was indeed taken by surprise. But when Mama Song went into the living room to take the treasured saber broken tyrant, the onion spirit had a sudden inspiration and thought of an ingenious plan. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 255 of If I Were a Green Onion? Chapter 255 of If I Were a Green Onion? Translator, Stardew 5T Editor, Karisu. Lady Onion was after all an onion spirit that had lived for 300 years. She had accumulated a huge amount of monster chi within her body, even though all that monster chi was of no use to her, and could only be used to scare human beings. However, monster chi was still monster chi. After someone other than a specialized immortal chef chopped her up to use in cooking, the monster chi wouldn't be removed due to lacking skills of the cook and enter the body of the person that consumed the food. For ordinary human beings, they would be infected by the monster chi after eating the contaminated food. The lucky ones would become deranged fools and then start killing people, stirring trouble, etc., until they tormented themselves to death. The unlucky ones might end up becoming half human and half monster after being infected with the monster chi. By then, they would eventually die from unknown causes. Even for cultivators, refining monster chi without sufficient cultivation could pose quite a bit of trouble. You guys wanted to use me to make dishes? I've granted your wish. Hence, when Mama Song was stir-frying the onion spirit, it was easily cooked after adding a bit of oil. That was the onion spirit actively cooperating with Mama Song. After eating it, don't even think about vomiting. Get tormented thoroughly by my monster chi, he. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I am too quick-witted, Lady Onion said complacently. Thereafter, Lady Onion, who was left with nothing but her roots, climbed out of Song Shuhang's pocket, then slipped into the other pocket that still had the Enlightenment Stone in it. Lady Onion's roots plastered themselves onto the Enlightenment Stone, and then she started to scheme. Next, after I catch my breath and regain some energy, I will escape with this treasured stone, and also take that treasured saber while I'm at it. That saber is indeed sharp. With one slash, it can easily cut my body into slices. TSK, even though I lost my upper body, but in exchange for a treasured stone and saber, it's worth it. Snowflake hash. The monster chi in Shuhang's abdominal area started to spread to his entire body. Afterward, the frantic monster chi started to slowly attack his consciousness. Song Shuhang silently worked on the true self meditation scripture. His true self in his sea of consciousness sat stably, maintaining a clear heart and consciousness. He was starting to attempt transforming the heat in his body into chi and blood. If it was possible, he would have hit the jackpot. But at this moment, from Venerable White's body next to him, there was a huge amount of spiritual chi that started churning. It was because Venerable absorbed the spiritual chi of the world into his body while he was practicing. When that spiritual chi gathered towards Venerable White, a small portion of it would also be attracted by Song Shuhang's body. In the world of cultivation, there would always be fights amongst disciples to guard the immortal cave their teacher was undergoing seclusion in for this exact reason. When a formidable cultivator went into secluded meditation to practice, naturally it would attract a large amount of spiritual chi. If the disciples that were guarding seized the opportunity, they would then be able to benefit. It was a very pleasant affair. At the same time, every time that spiritual chi scoured Song Shuhang's body, it would automatically purge a small portion of the monster chi within his body. Snowflake hash. Song Shuhang continued practicing, but before he knew it, he fell asleep. And then, he had a dream. He dreamt of himself, becoming a green onion. After having strange dreams of Altar Master and loose cultivator Li Tiansu, he transformed once again and suddenly became a green onion? As the saying goes, the first time was difficult, but the second was easy. Song Shuhang was no longer frightened or flustered when he had strange dreams. He knew that most likely, he was gonna experience another person's life again. The reason why he would dream of Altar Master's entire life was that prior to his death, his curse transformed into a resentful ghost, attaching itself to his body, causing him to experience Altar Master's miserable life. And the reason why he dreamt of loose cultivator Li Tiansu's life was that a part of Li Tiansu's memories was fused together with the ghost spirit, and the ghost spirit was forced into a contract with Song Shuhang, hence causing him to experience part of Li Tiansu's life. Now that he dreamt that he was going to be a green onion, it should be because he ate the onion spirit and was going to dream about her life, right? At this moment, Song Shuhang felt himself being grabbed by a wide and huge hand. That huge hand was so warm that it made him feel like he didn't want to leave. Thereafter, the owner of the huge hand brought Shuhang the green onion to an extremely tall mountain peak with a thick forest next to it and a clear stream on its right side. "We are here." The owner of the huge hand broke the silence, his voice akin to the thunder rolls high in the sky. Every sentence he said seemed to cause the great way of the world to follow the sound of his voice. Looking at the scene in the memory, could it be more than 300 years ago, or even longer, when the onion spirit was planted? Song Shuhang conjectured in his heart. From the looks of it, onion spirits aren't monsters that are naturally born on Earth, but a breed that required people to specially plant and nurture. The owner of the huge hand personally dug a hole in the ground and carefully planted the green onion in his hand into the ground. At this time, Song Shuhang used the onion's line of sight, and saw the owner of the big hand clearly. He was a skinny man, wearing a fire-red Daoist robe. His entire body seemed to be shrouded in mist. Song Shuhang stared blankly, and then yelled in astonishment, "Daoist priest Scarlet Heaven!" The Daoist priest in a fire-red Daoist robe before his eyes was the same Daoist priest Scarlet Heaven who passed on a skill in the memories of the loose cultivator Li Tiansu. At that time, within Li Tiansu's dreamland, Daoist priest Scarlet Heaven's gaze seemed to have pierced through time and space and directly saw the existence of Song Shuhang, passing on the flaming saber to him. Scarlet Heaven said that that was a very ordinary flaming saber, but when Song Shuhang saw him perform it, and the stance of burning the skies, he knew for sure that the flaming saber passed on to him by Scarlet Heaven was definitely not as simple as an ordinary flaming saber. Song Shuhang never thought that this time, within the memories of the Onion Spirit, he would actually cross paths with that mysterious and formidable Daoist priest Scarlet Heaven again. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. But this time, Daoist priest Scarlet Heaven did not seem to have seen Song Shuhang. Keep going and grow. Even if you're just an ordinary green onion, your future is limitless. I really want to see how much and to what extent you can grow in the future. It is the scene that I want to see most, Daoist priest Scarlet Heaven said to the small green onion in a gentle voice. His warm hand gently caressed the leaf of the green onion and said, "Remember where you were born, you must always remember, never ever forget it, because your roots lie here." After ending his speech, Daoist Scarlet Heaven stretched his body and stepped high up into the air, scaling higher with every step before disappearing completely. It was as though planting the little onion was only a whim. The little green onion swung back and forth slowly on the summit of the mountain, lonely but tenaciously, she took root and survived. Next, the sun rose and the sun set, day after day, year after year. In the blink of an eye, 3 years passed just like that. Seriously, since it was a dream, wasn't it better to just fast forward those windy and sunny days like in movies? Why did it have to be so realistic, causing me to truly live like a green onion, going through day by day like that? Song Shuhang felt like flipping a table. Thereafter, for some reason, Song Shuhang suddenly thought of an essay he wrote himself in elementary school. In elementary school, the essay topics were especially stupid. That time, the topic was if I were a blade of grass. The young Song Shuhang wrote, "If I were a blade of grass, I would do my best to grow, taking root and germinating, growing healthy and strong before undergoing photosynthesis, contributing to the society." As for the concrete details, he could no longer remember clearly. But basically, that was roughly the content. Thinking back, he was rather cute as a child, huh? A blade of grass growing healthy and strong in a bid to contribute to the society? As long as the farmer uncles didn't weed you out with agricultural chemicals, that was already considered good enough. At most, they might cut grass to feed horses, pigs, cattle. And what was foolish was, when Song Shuhang was younger, he thought that it would be very interesting if he were a blade of grass and led a worry-free life. Who knew that this dream would actually be fulfilled one day? Right now, he became an onion, swaying back and forth in the chilly winds, subjected to the wind and sun. Apart from staring blankly, there was nothing he could do. If I were a green onion, I would choose to break my green onion kidney, commit suicide, because it's freaking boring, Song Shuhang muttered. If someone were to say to Shuhang right now, perhaps becoming a little blade of grass can be a blissful thing because you'd have no worries. Song Shuhang definitely would use his saliva to drown that person. Please stick both of your legs into the soil and sway back and forth in the wind for 3 years before discussing with me the feeling of becoming a little blade of grass. Right now, he had already swayed in the wind for a full 3 years. So bored, if only a bunny would come and eat the green onion up, that would be so great. But there were no bunnies, and there was not a single movement in sight. The small onion swayed in the wind as per normal, being subjected to the wind and sun. Hence, Song Shuhang continued living day after day, year after year. In short, Song Shuhang couldn't remember how many years had passed. At the start, he could still mumble 2 words, so bored, so bored. But at the end, he was too lazy to even mumble. As a green onion, he had to have the consciousness of a green onion, absorbing nutrients from the ground with its roots and germinating, as well as undergoing photosynthesis as a service to the whole human race. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Finally, one day, days of suffering ended abruptly. Because that green onion suddenly became a spirit. There wasn't any prior indication or a sign. There were no thunders of tribulation, no condensing of the monster core, no bad weather or violent thunder. Just, overnight, the onion spirit woke up and realized she became an adorable green-haired lady. The onion spirit was very happy. She who had never left the ground before suddenly was equipped with the legs function, just like humanity. As a cute little onion spirit, she started happily living her life within the forest on the summit of the mountain. And living day by day freely without care or worries. Several years have passed. Song Shuhang couldn't help but sigh. The green onion led a blissful life indeed, without any worries. Thereafter, one day, a monster organization called All the Monsters of the World Should Unite and Become a Family suddenly appeared and took her in, bestowing her with the name Lady Onion. All the monsters of the world should unite and become a family? What kind of name is this? Hearing this name makes me wanna cuss. But since it's a monster organization, they would probably teach Lady Onion some combat skills, right? Song Shuhang thought to himself. Because according to past experiences, the lost techniques in his dreams, if he could remember them distinctly, could be learned. That flaming saber was a good example of that. If there were any lost techniques, then he would not have swayed about in the wind and snow for so many years in vain. But very soon, he thought about Lady Onion, that useless monster spirit, again. Would that monster organization really have any lost techniques? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 256, The Strings of Karma and the City in the Sky. Chapter 256, The Strings of Karma and the City in the Sky. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. Maybe this monster organization had no technique suited for fighting? As a consequence, Lady Onion turned out to be so weak and didn't even know how to use the monster energy she had accumulated in those 300 years. Just as he was fantasizing, the members of the monster organization approached Lady Onion and decided to teach her a lost technique. Whoa, a lost technique? Song Shuhang's interest was piqued. I didn't spend all those years as a green onion in vain. Today, I'm finally being rewarded after suffering so much. Perhaps Lady Onion was so weak because she didn't properly study this lost technique. Such being the case, I, Song Shuhang, will master this lost technique to perfection and display its full power. Song Shuhang pricked his ears up and started to carefully listen to this elder of the monster organization that was in the middle of passing down a lost technique. The elder took out a thick book and started to explain. The name of this lost technique was 200 must-have skills for a monster spirit to survive, and the book was written in the language of monsters. Therefore, Song Shuhang couldn't understand it. However, the table of contents seemed very long. Still, isn't the name of this lost technique a bit too lame? This doesn't seem to be the name of a peerless technique. Song Shuhang started to worry. Perhaps, although the name is a bit lame, the contents are very good? Song Shuhang tried to comfort himself. At last, the elder started to explain the contents of the lost technique. The contents of this book were very varied. If you wanted to take the initiative and attack, there were the divine stealing technique, how to smoothly form a team and rob a human cultivator, 500 ways to surrender to a human cultivator you're unable to beat, and the ultimate seducing skill of a pretty female monster. And if you were in a difficult position and wanted to counterattack, you could use the how a female monster should become the male master's mistress, 1-3 moves to fight the male master's harem, how a male monster should win his female master's heart, and 7-2 ways to successfully usurp the position of the female master's husband. Song Shuhang was dumbfounded. What the F***CK? What kind of dog-sheet lost technique is this? No wonder he'd felt that Lady Onion was an idiot when he met her. In particular, that ultimate seducing skill of a pretty female monster was the perfect technique to shoot yourself in the foot. It was like saying, "Come, enjoy my body as much as you want." It seems that this monster organization was the source of all those cancerous techniques. Song Shuhang had thoroughly lost hope now. He had stayed as a green onion for a long time, suffering every day. In the end, his reward was this set of completely useless lost techniques of the monster race. Bastard! You deserve to burn in hell. Let me wake up already. I don't want to stay here anymore. However, whenever he was dreaming of someone else's experiences, Song Shuhang couldn't casually leave. Therefore, he had no choice but to keep dreaming and seeing things from Lady Onion's perspective, learning about her life experiences. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. In the dream, the innocent and naive Lady Onion started to earnestly learn every move and style from the 200 must-have skills for a monster spirit to survive. She gave her best and trained day and night without taking breaks. If Deist Priest Scarlet Heaven were to see this scene, wouldn't he be heartbroken and aggrieved? He was looking forward to the unlimited future of this small monster onion, but now, it seemed that its future was rather bleak. Moreover, just as Lady Onion was getting more and more skilled in these lost techniques, a not-so-well feeling started to well in Song Shuhang's heart. No matter if it were a monster or a human, once they had fully mastered a skill and finished their practice, they would descend from the mountain, right? And after descending from the mountain, they would try to find an opponent and try these skills out, right? If this monster onion were to find a human cultivator, and display that set of self-harming lost techniques, wouldn't it be like telling the other party to do to her? Right now, I have taken possession of her body, and I'll experience everything in first person. If someone were to do her, it would feel as though I was personally experiencing it. Let me out. This ending is just too cruel. Please, end this awful dream already. Please, end it and let me wake up. Song Shuhang struggled with all his might. However, it was all useless. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Time quickly passed by, and another year was gone in the dreamland. The fateful moment was also quickly approaching, because Lady Onion in the dreamland felt that she had mastered all those techniques and was preparing to descend from the mountain. Then, just as Song Shuhang had predicted, Lady Onion descended from the mountain and started to look for a human cultivator. Song Shuhang heaved a sigh and started to mentally prepare himself. If I were to turn into a girl and be forcefully enjoyed by others, how should I exactly prepare myself? Prepare your sister. How can you prepare for something like that? Song Shuhang roared, let me go. It's time to put a stop to this nonsense. End this goddamn dream. However, just as before, all his struggle was useless. At this time, after many hardships, Lady Onion finally managed to find a human Buddhist monk. Why did it have to be a monk? According to Lady Onion's investigation, the name of this Buddhist monk was Nine Lanterns. They had thick eyebrows and big eyes, as well as a very handsome face. They had a thin and slender stature, and as they were wrapped in that large monk's robe, they looked so thin that it was almost pitiful. Although this Nine Lanterns had a slender figure, their chest muscles were very developed, and the wide monk's robe was barely able to wrap them. Wait! Why does it seem that there is something wrong with this scene? While Song Shuhang was still thinking, Lady Onion had already taken the initiative and attacked. The first technique she used was the Divine Stealing technique. Afterward, she used the How to Smoothly Form a Team and Rob a Human Cultivator and the 500 Ways to Surrender to a Human Cultivator You're Unable to Beat techniques. These techniques were all displayed to perfection. But no matter how much these skills were polished, they had no effect on Nine Lanterns. As a consequence, Lady Onion suffered a complete defeat. At last, she clenched her teeth and displayed the ultimate seducing skill of a pretty female monster. It was worthily an ultimate technique, its effects were really outstanding. After Nine Lanterns suffered this move, she went forward and enjoyed Lady Onion to her heart's content. Yep, Nine Lanterns was a she. Song Shuhang wasn't mistaken. The Buddhist monk Nine Lanterns was a woman. She had a slender and tall figure and a very developed chest. Song Shuhang looked at the scene unfolding before his eyes, his face stiff. However, he rejoiced in his heart. Lesbians. Although they couldn't have children, he still offered his most sincere prayers to all the lesbians in the world. At least he wouldn't have to worry about that. If I were to turn into a girl and be forcefully enjoyed by others, how should I exactly prepare myself? Problem. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. After 9 Lanterns was done enjoying Lady Onion's body, both of them were staring blankly. Song Shuhang already knew what would happen next. 9 Lanterns brought Lady Onion to a Buddhist temple and locked her up for almost 300 years. I won't have to experience those 300 years too, right? I have already been a green onion for too long. I've had enough of it. Song Shuhang was starting to worry. But right at this time, the picture before his eyes changed. He wasn't seeing things from Lady Onion's perspective anymore. Song Shuhang discovered that he was now seeing things from the sky. It was as though his spirit had suddenly come out of Lady Onion's body and was now watching 9 Lanterns and Lady Onion from an elevated position. Is this dream finally coming to an end? Song Shuhang thought to himself. In this dream, he didn't learn anything aside from that dog poop level 200 must have skills for a monster spirit to survive. Even if I didn't learn anything useful, I discovered that I have a lot of patience. He. After all, if you were to turn into a green onion and stay all alone on a mountain peak for several tens of years under the wind and the sun, your patience would surely improve. However, the price I had to pay was a bit too high. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Just when Song Shuhang was fantasizing, his eyes started to glitter and he felt a stabbing pain. He couldn't help but blink a few times. When he opened his eyes, he saw something very strange. Blue, white, golden, pink, blood red, black, he saw a lot of multicolored strings filling the world. Song Shuhang lowered his head and looked at his body. He discovered that his body also had many strings attached to it. Black strings were fewer in number, and there were only 5 of them. They were piercing the void and you couldn't see their other end. Next were the 6 blood red strings. These red strings were broken and thus fluttering in the wind. White strings were very numerous. There were several thousand, most of them were piercing the void and you couldn't see their other end. The blue ones neared the 100. As for the golden ones, there were around 20. These strings extended to every corner of the world, and Song Shuhang had no idea where their other ends were. The most eye-catching one was the 7-colored string connecting his spirit to Lady Onion. This 7-colored string acted as the string of a kite. Lady Onion was using it to pull Song Shuhang forward. Yep, Shuhang was flying in the sky like a kite. What's the deal with these strings? Song Shuhang tried to stretch his hand and grab the 7-colored string. However, he only touched air and wasn't able to touch the string at all. The average person couldn't see these strings. But they weren't the only ones. Even cultivators were unlikely to see them. For example, the 9 Lanterns below couldn't see them. But just as he was wondering what was happening, Shuhang saw a string come out 9 Lanterns' body. This pink string stretched toward Lady Onion like a tentacle. Afterward, another pink string came out of Lady Onion's body and connected to the pink string coming from 9 Lanterns' body. Then, the 2 strings merged and became one. Is that the legendary string of fated marriage? 2 people destined to marry each other, though 1,000 miles apart, are tied together as if by a thread? Song Shuhang opened his eyes wide in surprise. No, that's not it. If these are strings of fated marriage, what about the ones on my body? There are several thousand white strings on my body. If they are all strings of fated marriage, is it possible that I'll open a harem in the future? But if they are not strings of fated marriage, they might be the strings of karma? Song Shuhang tried to guess. Wait, strings of karma? If that were the case, it would make sense. If these are strings of karma, their color should stand for something, right? Pink strings should be strings of fated marriage or something similar. After all, the pink string appeared after 9 Lanterns and Lady Onion partook in some tribadism. In this case, what does the 7-colored string stand for? What's the relationship between Lady Onion and me? Did that string appear because I ate her? And what do the white, blood red, and golden ones stand for? Just as he was pondering, the scene below started to change. The pink string connecting 9 lanterns and Lady Onion started to wriggle. Afterward, it pierced through Lady Onion's body and climbed up the 7-colored string, arriving at Song Shuhang's body and firmly latching onto it. It was as though Lady Onion had become the medium to connect Song Shuhang and 9 lanterns. What's happening? Song Shuhang's mind shook. He was completely baffled by this turn of events. If we assume that the pink string was born after 9 lanterns and Lady Onion enjoyed themselves and was the fruit of their lesbian love, why has this string latched onto my body? Does it mean that 9 lanterns conveniently sullied my pure soul while enjoying Lady Onion's body? There was no need to get me involved. I don't really want to have this string attached to my body. You two can keep having fun, just let this poor 3D hologram alone. When the pink string latched onto his body, Song Shuhang's mind shook once more. Afterward, he woke up. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. I finally woke up. This dream was just too long. Song Shuhang opened his eyes and discovered that he was lying next to Venerable White. He got a scare and immediately got up. He turned his head and looked outside the window. The sky was already dark. It seems I slept very long this time. Perhaps my parents saw me sleeping on the floor and decided to move me next to Venerable White on the bed? At this time, Song Shuhang lowered his head and discovered that there was a golden string connecting him and Senior White. Moreover, those blue, white, black, and golden strings were spreading in all directions from his body. In addition, they all went toward a specific place and didn't pierce the void and disappear as in the dreamland. So, the relationship between Venerable White and me is represented by this golden string. Then, these 20+ golden strings latched on my body represent my relations with the seniors of the 9 provinces #1 group. Song Shuhang muttered. Next, those blue strings spread out, connecting to various places inside the house. Blue strings stand for family members? Song Shuhang guessed. Then, what did those white strings stand for? Finally, his vision fell on the pink string. Previously, that pink string was connected to Lady Onion in his pocket. Now, it was being refracted and was pointing somewhere up in the sky. Song Shuhang unconsciously stretched his hand and tried to touch the string. Ah! I forgot that you couldn't touch them, Song Shuhang thought to himself. But just as he was thinking this, his hand actually touched the pink string. Bang! When he touched the string, he felt a stabbing pain in his eyes. Afterward, a burst of energy gushed out from his eyes. This energy didn't belong to Shuhang but was only lent to him for a limited amount of time. After this energy gushed out of his eyes, all the strings filling the world disappeared. And just as these strings were disappearing, an indistinct picture resurfaced in Song Shuhang's mind. On the other end of the pink string was a huge and gorgeous island. And he saw a magnificent city in the sky. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 257, Emptying Stomach Pumping Hands. Chapter 257, Emptying Stomach Pumping Hands. Translator, Stardew 5T Editor, Karisu. That city in the sky is seen flashed across Song Shuhang's mind. Even so, the magnificent sight of the city in the sky caused Song Shuhang to exclaim in admiration. It was so majestic that even words could not be used to describe it. Additionally, in the scene, that city in the sky was discernible and extremely realistic, yet at the same time, it caused people to feel like it was an indistinct illusion. The two completely opposite feelings coexisted within this image of a city in the sky. Song Shuhang reached out his hands and rubbed his temples. Speaking of which, when he thought of the island that was floating in the sky, the first thing he thought of was the news, the mysterious island that appeared on the East China Sea. It was the place where the seniors of the 9 provinces #1 group entered and ultimately left with their memory lost. It must be reiterated that one of the people who entered the island was a 6th stage cultivator, true monarch ancient lake temple. Could this city in the sky be the mysterious island? If it was the mysterious island, Then, according to the direction of a strings of karma, could the 9 lanterns who imprisoned Lady Onion away 300 years ago currently be on the mysterious island? At the same time, Shu Hang remembered Lady Onion herself mentioning before that she was released from the temple not long ago. Then, 9 lanterns went to the mysterious island recently. No, perhaps 9 lanterns was already there since a long time ago, and as for the onion spirit, it could be possible that she finished her sentence, and was thus released. The mysterious island? Song Shu Hang muttered. He had a bad premonition. It was as though the mysterious island was cordially reaching out its hands, beckoning him over. Oh! Little brother, you're finally awake. At this time, a voice suddenly echoed in his ear. Song Shu Hang got a shock. The voice was very close to him yet. He did not feel anything. If it was the enemy, he would have died several times a long time ago. Shu Hang turned his head and looked towards the source of the voice. Thereafter, he saw a man who was fully wrapped in his blanket. It was Daoist Cloudy Mist from the Penniless Thief sect who got smashed by a meteorite and fainted. At this time, Daoist Cloudy Mist was floating on top of the ceiling of his room, wearing a smile on his face. Ah, it's you, Daoist Priest. Song Shu Hang nodded and asked, Daoist Priest, you're awake too? Thanks to you, I could wake up this fast. As he was speaking, Daoist Cloudy Mist carefully looked at the bed. He was gazing at Venerable White, who seemed to be both sleeping and practicing. This formidable cultivator was steadily and continuously absorbing the spiritual qi between heaven and earth, causing Song Shu Hang's house to be filled with spiritual qi. Thanks to the large amount of pure spiritual qi, Daoist Cloudy Mist's injuries quickly recovered, enabling him to wake up from the coma. Song Shu Hang was full of smiles, but he secretly sighed in his heart. He was originally planning to call True Monarch Yellow Mountain directly while Daoist Cloudy Mist was unconscious so that he could come over to get him. It was just that he hadn't expected so many things to happen in the meantime, so Daoist Cloud Mist had actually woken up before he did. In order to thank you for your help, I have also done a little something to help you, as a way of returning your favor. Upon finishing his sentence, he reached out his hand, revealing a green crystal. Help me? What is this? Song Shu Hang looked curiously at the item in his palm. You don't remember it? Well, that's possible. When you ate it, it didn't look like that. Daoist Priest Cloudy Mist smiled. This is the sprout of the onion spirit. Didn't you eat it? Even though the onion spirit's body is good for one's health, but before you eat it, you have to at least remove the monster qi from its body. From the looks of it, during the period he was in a coma, Daoist Priest Cloudy Mist still had a certain extent of awareness of the world. Hence he knew about the onion spirit matter. Eating her was an accident. Song Shu Hang forced a smile. Ha ha, let me return it to you. Take it. Daoist Priest Cloudy Mist lightly tossed the crystal over to Shu Hang. When I woke up, I saw that your entire body was being engulfed by the monster qi, and hence I used the emptying miracle hands to help you extract the onion spirit body from your stomach. Don't worry, my skills are top-notch. It definitely would not harm your body. You can keep this onion spirit crystal for yourself. Perhaps in the future it might come in handy. Onion spirit crystal. Song Shu Hang received the crystal that was jade green in color. Even though this thing looked really pretty, but the thought of it being removed from his stomach made him feel slightly uncomfortable. Additionally, after he woke up, it was no wonder he felt that the sick feeling he had earlier on from eating the 300-years-old onion lamb with fried green onions disappeared. So it was because Daoist Cloudy Mist lent a helping hand. However, Daoist Cloudy Mist's act of kindness was least expected by Song Shu Hang. Speaking of which, who's the senior laying on the bed? Daoist Cloudy Mist smiled and asked. He absolutely dared not look directly at Venerable White. Things that should not be seen will definitely not be looked at. As a rational thief, he was an expert in restraining his own greed. Otherwise, it wouldn't be long before he got himself into trouble if he took everything he wanted. Of course, True Monarch Yellow Mountain's treasures were an exception. As long as an item belonged to True Monarch Yellow Mountain, it had to be stolen without any exceptions. You're talking about Venerable White? He's my senior. Song Shu Hang intentionally revealed Senior White's rank. Venerable? Daoist Cloudy Mist immediately swallowed his saliva hard. 7th stage spiritual venerables were a group of cultivators who were the strongest and the highest in rank in the world of cultivators as of now. Each of them was a big shot and a leading expert within their respective field. No wonder that you dare to nibble directly on the onion spirit, it's because you have such a formidable senior by your side. Daoist priest Cloudy Mist sighed and lightly patted Song Shuhang. However, when he was lightly patting Song Shuhang, he stealthily stuffed a fist-sized stone back into Song Shuhang's pocket. It was the Enlightenment Stone. As the saying goes, thieves don't leave empty-handed. Treating Song Shuhang only required a very slight effort for Daoist Cloudy Mist. Even for the people of Penniless Thief Sect, they also made a clear distinction between gratitude and grievances. Song Shuhang brought him back when he was passed out and allowed him to quickly recover from his injuries. That was considered a favor. By helping Song Shuhang remove the onion spirit crystal from his body, it was an effortless way for him to return that favor. However, after he helped Song Shuhang remove the monster onion crystal, he casually took the treasure, Enlightenment Stone, out of habit. It just so happened that he needed it. During the period where he got sealed, his strength kept accumulating. Now, he was about to make a small breakthrough within the 5th stage realm. If he had the Enlightenment Stone, it would save him time and effort. But right after he took Song Shuhang's Enlightenment Stone, he happened to see Venerable White laying on the bed. In a split second, he felt like a cat whose entire body's fur stood on end. It was an instinctive fear. The tremendous sense of fear continuously infiltrated his thoughts without dissipating. Hence, Daoist Cloudy Mist did not leave immediately, but lingered behind to wait for Song Shuhang to wake up in order to sound him out for the status of Venerable White. After confirming that the cultivator on the bed was a 7th stage venerable, Daoist Cloudy Mist secretly stuffed the Enlightenment Stone back into Song Shuhang's pocket. I shall temporarily leave the Enlightenment Stone with this little fella for now. When he got the chance in the future, he could always come over to steal the Enlightenment Stone if he wanted. There was no need to rush. There was definitely no need to risk offending a venerable for a momentary benefit. After he gave the Enlightenment Stone back to Song Shuhang, Daoist Cloudy Mist saluted with his fists clasped toward Song Shuhang and said, "Little friend, we no longer owe each other favors. I still have some things to settle. We shall bid each other goodbye here. Have a safe journey, Daoist priest." Song Shuhang bowed with his hands forming the same salute. Daoist Cloudy Mist, still wrapped in the blanket, suddenly whizzed out of the house. He was preparing to look around for any vacant apartments for rent or sale near Song Shuhang's house. He was preparing to stay there temporarily first. When he had the time, he would make a trip to Song Shuhang's house to test the effectiveness of the Enlightenment Stone. He was striving to obtain his first breakthrough within this realm. One day, after Venerable White and Song Shuhang got separated, he would take the opportunity to steal that Enlightenment Stone. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. After waiting for Daoist Cloudy Mist to leave, Song Shuhang heaved a sigh of relief. He felt around in his pocket and took out the Enlightenment Stone. Luckily, this treasure is still here. Next, Song Shuhang realized there was something on top of the Enlightenment Stone. It was an onion root. Lady Onion? Song Shuhang warily asked. Wasn't Lady Onion in the other pocket? How come she's on top of the Enlightenment Stone? Did she climb over herself? Furthermore, he wasn't sure if it was a misconception, but somehow, he saw fresh shoots coming out from the onion root. Has Lady Onion recovered so quickly? The onion root shuddered slightly, not saying anything. It was not because she couldn't speak, she simply had no mood to say anything. Right now, she just wanted to cry and pass out. At that time, she thought she had successfully completed her mission, and hence, she climbed all the way from the other pocket to the Enlightenment Stone, and then used her root to wrap around. It was in preparation of taking a good rest to accumulate a bit of energy before taking off with the Enlightenment Stone as well as the treasured saber-broken tyrant. However, she fell asleep without realizing it, and had a very, very long dream. She was not clear about the things that happened in the dream. But after much difficulty, when she finally woke up, she realized something serious happened. She germinated. Germinating was a good thing, but the problem was, she took root in the wrong place. Yes, her root fastened itself to the Enlightenment Stone, and the bigger problem was that she couldn't pull it out. Additionally, she realized she couldn't transform into human form. She had started growing on top of the Enlightenment Stone. If she couldn't transform into human form, how would she be able to run away with the Enlightenment Stone? How would she be able to retrieve the treasured saber? Right now, she was stuck in the physical state of an onion, unable to move a single step. Hence, Lady Onion was in a bad mood, not wanting to speak. "What are you doing, laying on top of the stone? Come down, I will look for a small pot to plant you, allowing you to grow your roots and germinate faster, enabling you to recover back to your original state," said Song Shuhang. Thereafter, he reached out his hands to pull Lady Onion's roots. After pulling once, how come it couldn't be pulled out? Song Shuhang lifted the Enlightenment Stone and scrutinized it. "You're growing on it?" The onion root shuddered, not uttering a single word. She was extremely heartbroken and hurt. "You can't speak?" Song Shuhang talked to himself, and then kept the Enlightenment Stone first. He flipped open his cell phone once again and looked at the time. It was actually past 2 in the morning. He slept for a very long time. Sounded about right. He had dreamt of Lady Onion's 300 years of life, which felt like forever. Of course his sleep would have been that long, wouldn't it? Uncle Lu and Lu Tuanyu, coupled with Zhao Yaya and her 2 friends, should have already eaten and gone back, right? Then, Shuhang opened the 9 Provinces #1 group. The moment he opened the chat group, the app prompted him that someone tagged him. It was Soft Feather. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 258, The Small Monk's Plan and Soft Feather's Plan. Chapter 258, The Small Monk's Plan and Soft Feather's Plan. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. Song Shuhang scrolled through the chat logs. After the seniors replied to Song Shuhang's issue about the 300 years old monster onion in the afternoon, the topic of the conversation veered off, and they ended up talking about Immortal Fairy Bi Shui's Immortal Feast. Many of them were wondering what kind of dishes would be present at this year's feast. Seniors with experience gave rise to much discussion and started to recall the delicacies of the previous Immortal Feasts. There were all sorts of strange and unusual dishes, but it seemed that each of them was incredibly delicious. Song Shuhang touched his belly. Deist priest Cloudy Mist gave him a gastric lavage with his emptying miracle hands before, and after hearing about these dishes, his mouth started watering. Song Shuhang kept scrolling through the chat logs till he saw a message from Spirit Butterfly Island Soft Feather. "Soft Feather, at Stressed by a Mountain of Books, Senior Song, what's your current address? My handmade spirit green tea is finally complete. I'll send some of it to you via mail." At the time, Song Shuhang was in the middle of that horrifying nightmare and didn't reply. After seeing Soft Feather's message, Song Shuhang lightly smiled. Then, he sent her a private message. "Thank you, Soft Feather. I'll look forward to your handmade spirit green tea. Next, he sent his home address. After stretching himself, he decided to go in the kitchen and eat something. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Spirit Butterfly Island. An incredibly handsome middle-aged man frowned as he read a message on his phone. Soon after, the middle-aged man clenched his teeth and said, "Go and replace Soft Feather's handmade spirit green tea with a normal one. Boy, you're lucky that I saw this message. Otherwise, you would have spent the next month on the toilet." Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Deep in the night, Mama Song suddenly got up, and after rubbing her eyes, she went into the kitchen. Then, she stretched her hand as usual and picked the cutting board, but just as she picked it, the thick cutting board split into many pieces. Not only the cutting board, even the marble table below had several marks left behind by a blade. "Eh? What's happening?" Mama Song immediately became clear-headed. She started to recall what happened in the evening, when she was preparing the lamb with fried green onions earlier. There was a green onion that she couldn't cut no matter what. And then, she decided to go to the living room and take Shu Hang's ornamental blade to chop this green onion and prepare the dish. After recalling things to this point, Mama Song was alarmed. Have I gone mad? Leaving that weird green onion aside, why in the world did I think that it was appropriate to use a 1-meter-long saber to cut it? However, what was the matter with that green onion? Why couldn't I cut it? In normal circumstances, if she found an uncuttable green onion, she would either throw it away or call everyone over and show it to them. But at the time, she didn't think anything of the sort and was strangely hell-bent on cutting it up. After recalling all of this, Mama Song felt as though something had influenced her. It was the same as if someone had possessed her body, and she couldn't think clearly anymore. It was Shu Hang who brought home that green onion. He said it was a new species or something. Mama Song remembered this point. Afterward, Song Shu Hang had suddenly eaten all the lamb with fried green onions by himself. Was there something wrong with that green onion? After eating the lamb with fried green onions, Song Shu Hang immediately went to his room. Later, Zhao Yaya discovered that he was sleeping on the floor. Then, Papa Song went to his room and picked him up, laying him on the bed. At the time, everyone thought that Shu Hang was tired due to the long journey and didn't think much of it. But after linking all these events together, she felt that there was something wrong with this situation. Shu Hang, that boy. Mama Song frowned and jogged toward Song Shu Hang's room with large strides. Coincidentally, Song Shu Hang, who was starving at this time, came out of his room and was preparing to go in the kitchen. Ma? What are you doing here in the middle of the night? Song Shu Hang said, somewhat confused. Mama Song replied, I just wanted to check up on you. You wanted to check up on me? Ha ha, I was sleeping and got hungry after I woke up. Therefore, I decided to go in the kitchen and eat something. Song Shu Hang laughed. There should be still some rice left. Come, I'll prepare you fried eggs with rice, Mama Song replied. And then, Mama Song returned to the kitchen with Song Shu Hang and started to prepare fried eggs for her son. While cooking, Mama Song asked, Shu Hang, don't lie and tell me the truth. Was there something wrong with that green onion? Song Shu Hang quietly looked at Mama Song's expression and honestly replied, there was indeed something wrong with it. I don't really know the reason, but if someone with a weak constitution eats that type of green onion, they might be harmed by it. But you don't have to worry. It didn't cause me any harm. After all, I was the one that brought it home, and I know what I'm doing. Song Shu Hang brightly smiled. It wasn't the time to tell Mama Song and the others about this matters related to the world of cultivators. He wasn't strong enough yet. Once he was a little stronger and had gathered enough cultivation resources, he might think about it. If that's how things are, I'm a little relieved. Mama Song heaved a sigh. If you have time tomorrow, follow your father and go to the hospital with Zhao Yaya and do a complete body checkup. After Papa Song and the others got into an accident, Mama Song was rather worried. Therefore, she told Zhao Yaya to bring them to the hospital tomorrow if she was free and give them a full checkup. This way, if there were any internal injuries, it would be discovered in time. I don't think there is a need for that. Elder sister Yaya gave me a full body checkup not too long ago, Song Shu Hang blurted out. You did a full body checkup not too long ago? Mama Song, who was holding the rice with fried eggs, had a confused expression. Cough, it was when I had to compete in the games. Elder sister Yaya came to our university for her internship, and since she was at it, she gave me a full body checkup. I'm in very good health, and there is no problem with my body. Song Shu Hang patted his chest. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. In a hotel close to the number 6 hospital. The small monk secretly touched his butt. There was only one last treatment left to cure his hemorrhoids. Afterward, I'll have to return to senior brother Shu Hang's place. The video that Dudu had shown him was continuously being replayed in the mind of the small monk. Song Shu Hang was holding a fist, towering with rage. Hemorrhoids or not, wait till I catch you. I'll spank you till you shit all over the place. I'll spank you till you shit all over the place. I'll spank you till you shit all over the place. This sentence was constantly echoing in the mind of the small monk. The small monk had a serious expression. After all, he was a very conscientious kid. If I go back after tomorrow's treatment, senior brother Shu Hang would surely spank me till making me shit all over the place, right? This scene was rather fearful. The small monk couldn't help but shoot a look at the sleeping Dudu and Julie, who was in the middle of meditation. Should I try to negotiate with Dudu after tomorrow's treatment? Instead of directly going back, we might stay out for a while, at the very least, until senior brother Song Shu Hang's anger hasn't completely disappeared. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. On the Spirit Butterfly Island. Softfeather looked at the huge box before her eyes with a satisfied look on her face. Hee, it's really perfect. Now, I only have to wait for the express delivery man to come and take it. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 259, Shu Hang, you have another oversized express package. Chapter 259, Shu Hang, you have another oversized express package. Translator, Stardew 5T Editor, Kurisu. The next day, July 11th, cloudy. It was rare for the sky to be overcast. Even though he had the spirit-binding ice bead with him, he was not afraid of intense heat. However, in the scorching summer, as long as he did not have to see the splendid smile of the sun, his mood would get a lot better. Early in the morning today, Zhao Yaya drove over to pick up Papa Song to bring him to the hospital for a checkup. From the start, Papa Song kept insisting that his body had no problems, he did not want to go to the hospital. Papa Song was one of those people that didn't like to go to the hospital. Whether he had a common cold or was ill, he would prefer to stay at home and suffer instead of going to the hospital. However, after Mama Song's face started looked serious, Papa Song obediently went to the hospital with Zhao Yaya. There was a story behind Papa Song and Mama Song's special relationship. It was said that the two of them were classmates back then when they were in school. In his younger days, Papa Song did not look as gentlemanly. At that time, Papa Song's physique could fight that of old Lu's. They were both tough, stocky, and muscular. They both had an intimidating face as well. Furthermore, Papa Song was one of the main members of the Mixed Martial Arts Society in school, a gold medalist, and Mama Song, on the other hand, was a beauty who was rather popular back then in school. How the two of them met went a little like this. It was said that at that time, there was another member of the Mixed Martial Arts Society who was a very close friend of Papa Song's. Additionally, that member wanted to woo Mama Song back then, but the only problem was that he didn't have a chance to come in contact with her. Ultimately, after pondering hard for several days, he finally thought of a perfect plan. Hence, he looked for Papa Song and roped him in to act out a scene of his hero rescuing the beauty. Back then, Papa Song was still muscular and fit, with an intimidating face. He didn't need any makeup for his role as the villain. He just needed to show his muscles and make an evil grin to portray a natural villain. Hence, that good friend of his requested Papa Song to act as the bad guy to scare Mama Song. Then, at the crucial moment, he would suddenly appear. The hero successfully rescues the beauty, winning her heart. Papa Song's personality back then had quite a number of similarities to Song Shu Hang's personality right now. For small tasks that they could easily fulfill, they wouldn't reject anyone who needed their help. Hence, both parties agreed upon the script for the show. And then, both of them chose a small pathway which Mama Song took back then to go home after school, and waited for her to pass by. That good friend of his squatted in a corner, preparing himself to save her anytime. As for Papa Song, he worked out his muscles a little, welcoming Mama Song. According to their plan, Papa Song stopped Mama Song. He flexed his muscles and wore an evil grin, saying, "Hey girl, wanna accompany me to somewhere fun and have a good time?" Next, according to the script, Mama Song would cry out in fear and his good friend would flashily appear to save the day, beating Papa Song up, causing him to make a run for it and thus winning her heart. However, at that time, Mama Song did not show even a bit of fear. She calmly stood where she was, scrutinizing Papa Song once from head to toe. That gaze caused Papa Song to feel a little scared. Thereafter, Mama Song nodded and calmly said, "All right, let's go." And then, both she and Papa Song left together. They left. Papa Song's friend kneeled on the ground, unable to say a single word for a long time. Not long later, Mama Song became Papa Song's girlfriend. And as for Papa Song's good friend, he had already cried hard in the bathroom countless times. And then, within the next few years of his school days, Papa Song's personality underwent a huge change, from a guy with a muscular and stocky build with an intimidating face to a guy who wore glasses with a gentleman-like eloquence and mannerisms. He became gentle and his academic results also improved tremendously. For this huge change, Papa Song had endured a lot of hardship. He couldn't even tell anyone else about it. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. After waking up, when Song Shuhang was having breakfast, Mama Song hurried to him and asked, "Shuhang, where did the injured guy you brought back go?" Earlier, when she looked into the guest room, she realized that the wounded guy who was in a coma yesterday was gone. The blanket disappeared too. Song Shuhang swallowed the fried egg in his mouth and said, "I was about to tell you, Mom. The injured guy woke up in the middle of the night and came to my room to look for me. After a short chat, he left. He left in the wee hours of the night, wrapped in a blanket." "You didn't ask him to stay?" Mama Song furrowed her brows. "He looked for me in the wee hours of the night. I wasn't even fully awake. After he finished talking to me, he left just like that, still wrapped up in the blanket. I didn't even have the opportunity to give him a set of clothes." "Forget it, it's okay. He will find a way to get some clothes to wear. Besides, I don't really know him. If he wants to leave, I can't stop him," Song Shuhang casually replied. He honestly did not think of giving dazed Cloudy Mist a set of clothes. The latter simply jumped out of the window and flew off while still wrapped in a blanket. "Seriously, Shuhang. You didn't even give him a set of clothes. Other people would mock us." Mama Song sighed and said, "Also, your good friend hasn't woken up from his slumber yet." She saw that Venerable White still had not woken up to have his meals. "Ha ha, he's more of a sleepyhead than an average person. But he drove all by himself yesterday, hence he's more tired. Let him sleep a while more, it's not an issue." Song Shuhang forced a laugh. They might get into trouble. Venerable was going to be in secluded meditation for at least 2 days. Right now, only 20 hours had passed. There was still a long time to go before he ended his secluded meditation. He had to think of a solution in order not to expose themselves. He can really sleep, huh? Let's let him sleep a little more then. You must get him to wake up in the afternoon to eat. If he continues sleeping, it's bad for the body, said Mama Song. Got it. I will definitely wake him up in the afternoon. Song Shuhang assured her. He was not sure, maybe he could force Venerable White to come out of seclusion. If he forcefully woke Senior White up while he was meditating, would anything bad happen? For example, just like how some people would fly into anger when woken up, would Senior White also fly into anger when forced to stop his seclusion from insufficient meditation? If he did, would he bomb his entire house? Right, speaking of which, the young monk's hemorrhoid treatment would end today. By then, Senior Brother Ju Li would bring Dudu and the young monk back. When that time came, perhaps he could ask Senior Brother Ju Li for a solution. There might be a spell to transform one's appearance into Senior White's and then act the role of Senior White coming out to take his meal, preventing Mama Song from becoming suspicious. If that happened, the problem of Senior White being in secluded meditation would be solved. When he thought of that, Song Shuhang immediately felt reassured. After finishing his breakfast, it was almost 7:30 a.m. Mom, I'm going to work out. It might take quite a while. If there's anything, you can give me a call, Song Shuhang called out. He had no place to practice in his house. Hence, he had to look for a place nearby with no signs of human presence to practice the basic Buddhist fist technique. All right, don't go too far, said Mama Song casually. Song Shuhang touched the enlightenment stone in his pocket and thought for a while before going to the living room to wrap his treasured saber Broken Tyrants with a cloth and carried it with him. The flaming saber, passed on to him by Dao's Scarlet Heaven, needed to be practiced more. Ever since he saw Scarlet Heaven in Lady Onion's memories, Song Shuhang felt even more strongly that there might be some deep secret hiding within the technique of Flaming Saber. After Song Shuhang left, he immediately ran in the direction of Mountain Nyoding. It was a good place to practice. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Within the forest in Mountain Nyoding. After Song Shuhang completed one session of the basic Buddhist fist technique, he closed his eyes and felt for the changes within his body. He just opened the nose aperture yesterday. But today, after he completed one session of the fist technique, he realized that his fourth aperture, ear aperture, had already been filled with qi and blood. There was a faint feeling of it swelling up. Based on his calculations, in about 7 days at most, the ear aperture would be fully filled with qi and blood, causing it to be forced open. Could it be because I ate Lady Onion's body yesterday? Song Shuhang had a realization, although the body of Lady Onion that he swallowed into his stomach had been removed by Daoist priest Cloudy Mist with his emptying miracle hands and transformed into an onion spirit crystal, there was a part that got digested by Song Shuhang and became a tonic for his body's qi and blood. Even though Lady Onion's fighting strength was low, her cultivation of 300 years wasn't fake. Even if it was just a small portion, it was enough to fill up one of Song Shuhang's apertures. After the ear aperture, it would be the mouth aperture. After the mouth aperture, it would be time for me to jump through the Dragon Gate. After which, what's illusory becomes genuine. The intangible strength of the qi and blood energy by then would be converted to true qi. Song Shuhang took a deep breath. True qi was different from qi and blood. True qi could be released outside one's body. Just like in the movies, after reaching the highest realm, a stream of sword qi would appear following each slash. How cool! As he was thinking about that, Song Shuhang saw the treasured saber broken tyrant in his hands. It was a saber. Even the technique passed on to him in his dream by Scarlet Heaven was a saber technique, Flaming Saber. Could it be that he was meant to use a saber instead of a sword? Nonsense! After I reach the second stage True Master Realm, I will learn a couple of sword techniques immediately. Decked in white with a long sword and whistling an old song. Song Shuhang clenched his teeth. Firstly, he repeatedly practiced the basic Buddhist fist technique, the virtuous man's 10,000-mile walk, the immovable body of the Buddha, and then the true self-meditation scripture. After that was the Flaming Saber, and 3 different ways of using mental energy, mental detection, vigilance, as well as spiritual pressure. And then, he practiced the lightning palm and turtle breathing technique. Lastly, Song Shuhang lighted a ball of small flame and practiced the fire controlling art. Unknowingly, he had learned a lot of different skills. The coolest one would be the lightning palm, and the fire controlling art was pretty legit too, a pity he had not perfected it yet. After finishing one session of practice, 3 hours had passed. At this time, Song Shuhang's phone rang. He took it out and looked. It was a call from the delivery guy, Little Jiang. An express package? From whom? Could it be that Spirit Green Tea is sent by Soft Feather? That's very fast. Song Shuhang picked up the call. Hi, Little Jiang. Ha, Shuhang, it's me. I'm currently right outside your apartment building, downstairs. There is an oversized express package for you. Sima Jiang's cheerful laughter came from the other end of the line. Oversized? Song Shuhang subconsciously asked. It's very big, a square box, almost 1.6 cubic meters, replied Sima Jiang. Song Shuhang stared blankly. That big? If it only contained Spirit Green Tea, did Miss Softfeather meant to give him a lifetime supply of tea leaves? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 260, Senior Song, Are You Surprised? Eh? What? Chapter 260, Senior Song, Are You Surprised? Eh? What? Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. As expected of a rich girl, she spares no expense no matter what she's doing. However, this time she went overboard a bit. How will I repay these favors in the future? Song Shuhang thought to himself. In all honesty, meeting Soft Feather, 16, Senior White, and even Dudu while entering the world of cultivators was really a huge stroke of luck. Song Shuhang said to Sima Jiang, "Little Jiang, wait a moment. I'm not home right now. I'll call my mom and tell her to open the door." "No problem," Sima Jiang replied with a smile. After hanging up, Song Shuhang called his mother. "Ma, there is an express delivery for me downstairs. Can you open the door and sign it in my stead?" "An express delivery? I understand." Then, Mama Song loudly shouted, "Old Song, there is Shuhang's express delivery downstairs. Go take a look." "I'm going," Papa Song replied. It seems that father and Zhao Yaya have already returned from the hospital. At this time, while still on the phone, Mama Song thoughtlessly asked, "They came so early in the morning, what did they send exactly? A friend should have sent me some tea leaves." "Right, is elder sister Yaya still there?" Song Shuhang asked. Mama Song replied, "Yes, I convinced her to stay for a meal. She is also free these days." Then, after receiving the delivery, "Can you open the package and tell me what's inside? If there are only tea leaves inside, put them in a jar and give them to elder sister Yaya. Tell her that these are the same tea leaves from yesterday," Song Shuhang replied. Yesterday, he wanted to give Zhao Yaya another portion of tea leaves. However, he fell asleep afterward and wasn't able to. "Got it," Mama Song said. "Moreover, come home a bit early for the meal, don't stay out for too long." "Sure, I'll return home early," Song Shuhang said. After hanging up, he swallowed a qi and blood pill and kept practicing. Since he was already at it, it was better to complete today's round of practice. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. At this time, Papa Song arrived downstairs and saw the tall and strong-looking Sima Jiang. Behind were also four stocky men in black suits guarding a big box. "Is this Shuhang's delivery?" Papa Song curiously asked using Wenju area's dialect. "Anyway, who delivers packages like this? With four men in black suits watching over it?" "Ha ha, you must be Shuhang's father, right? You two really look similar." Sima Jiang laughed and also used Wenju City standard accent. Afterward, he went forward and gave Papa Song his business card. "I am Fengshou Express Delivery Sima Jiang, and I'm here to deliver this big box. Do you want us to bring it upstairs?" As a member of an elite company of express deliveries, Sima Jiang knew many languages, and he also knew over 10 Chinese dialects so as to avoid not understanding what the client was saying. "I see, go ahead." "Thanks." Papa Song took the business card and nodded. This box was a cube with sides measuring 1.6 meters. Therefore, it was tough for him alone to bring it up. Anyway, Papa Song and Song Shuhang shared only around 10% of their facial features. As a consequence, Sima Jiang's flattery had deeply impressed him. "Is the attitude of your Fengshou Express delivery always so good?" Papa Song thoughtlessly asked. "Of course. If you have an express delivery to send, just give me a call and I'll be there." Sima Jiang started to shamelessly advertise his company. At the same time, he gave Papa Song some papers to sign. "I'll have to ask Mr. Song to sign here." Papa Song smiled and nodded. Afterward, he signed the papers. However, he thought in his heart, is their attitude so good because Shuhang is a big client of their company? Papa Song was a seasoned man and had dealt with a variety of people for many years. Therefore, he could roughly gauge the situation just with a glance. "Is the thing in this box really so precious?" The four men in black suits cautiously lifted the wooden box and brought it inside the home, putting it in the middle of the hall. Afterward, Sima Jiang bid farewell to Song Shuhang's family members. "Mr. Song, we'll take our leave then." And just in this fashion, he brought along the four men in black suits and left Song Shuhang's house, their heads held high. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. "Were they from the express delivery company?" Mama Song asked from the kitchen, somewhat confused. None of them looked like an express delivery man. Especially those for men in black suits that look the same as those bodyguards you see in movies. Shu Hang, this boy, what did he exactly buy during this year that he got in touch with this company? Papa Song muttered. Then, he recalled to mind that tractor that could run up to 150 kilometers per minute. Considering that Shu Hang is studying mechanical design and manufacturing, is it possible that his talent is incredibly high and he has already started to design and manufacture large mechanical devices? Then, Papa Song shot a look at the big box before his eyes and curiously asked, "Now, what does this box contain?" According to Shu Hang, there should be tea leaves inside, but would you really put tea leaves inside such a big box? Mama Song's corner of the mouth twitched. Just how many tea leaves can one put inside such a big box? Probably so many that they could last for a lifetime. Just as both of them were lost in thoughts, a noise transmitted from the box. What was that? Papa Song said, somewhat vigilant. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The sound coming from the box was getting more and more clear. There was indeed something inside moving. Next, Mama Song and Papa Song saw that the cover of the box was slowly lifted. This scene was enough to scare someone. Mama Song gave Papa Song a meaningful glance. Papa Song immediately grabbed the nearby broom and tightened his right hand around it, even the muscle on his arm started to bulge faintly. Bang! At this time, the cover of the wooden box was sent flying. Aha! Surprise! Senior Song, did you see my incredible appearance? Are you surprised? A tall and slender girl suddenly stood up from the box. She was holding her hands high and had a pleased look on her face. It was the smile of someone that had successfully managed to play a prank. Her long pitch black hair dropped on her back like a waterfall. She was wearing a white t-shirt and cropped jeans and was full of energy. The most eye-catching part was her two very long legs. Mama Song opened her mouth wide and wasn't able to close it for a while. Papa Song was holding onto the broom, his face awkward. Eh? What? The girl with long legs looked all around and saw the surprised Mama Song and Papa Song, the latter holding a broom. She turned her head once more and looked all around a second time, however, there were no traces of Song Shu Hang anywhere. What? Is Senior Song not home? Her self-satisfied smile turned into an embarrassed one. Senior Song? Mama Song was confused. After seeing Mama Song's confused expression, the girl with long legs blinked a few times. Don't tell me I mailed myself over to the wrong address? Then, under Papa Song and Mama Song's dumbfounded gaze, she picked up the cover of the wooden box she came out of. Afterward, she jumped back into the box and covered it with the lid. It was really a lot of work. It wasn't easy for a girl with a tall and slender build like her to squat down inside such a box. Before covering the box, she looked at Mama Song and Papa Song somewhat embarrassed, and said, Uncle, Auntie, I'm sorry. It seems I mailed myself over to the wrong address. He, don't worry. I'll make a call and clarify the situation. Then, they heard her dial a number, calling someone. Soon, the person on the other side picked the phone. Hello? Senior Song, the girl said somewhat anxious. Soft Feather? Did you call me to tell me about the express delivery of the spirit green tea? They already delivered it to my house. Song Shu Hang said with a smile. They delivered it to your house? Soft Feather's expression stiffened. Weird, I don't see you around. You don't see me around? Song Shu Hang's expression also stiffened. Song Shu Hang rubbed his brows and recalled to mind the last time he received a big express delivery. That delivery was from Su Clan 16. The contents of that delivery were a box of spirit green tea, a jar of fasting pills, and a free of charge and very cute 16. Soft Feather, did you send yourself over? Song Shu Hang cautiously asked. Soft Feather laughed and said, Ah. Senior Song, you guessed correctly. Aha. Wait a moment. I'm immediately coming home. Since I was outside practicing, my mom and dad received the delivery for me. Song Shu Hang made a hollow laugh. Eh? Oh. No wonder I couldn't see you. Soft Feather nodded. Then, should I wait for your return inside the box? There is no need for that. Before coming home, I'll make a call and explain to my parents what's happening, Song Shuhang said as he put out the flames of that fire-controlling art burning in front of him. Then, he used the virtuous man's 10,000-mile walk and rushed home at full speed. He felt that Mama Song would misunderstand things after seeing Soft Feather. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. On the other side. Under Mama Song and Papa Song's careful gaze, Soft Feather pushed the box open once again. Then, she embarrassingly stood up and waved her hand at Mama Song and Papa Song. Auntie, Uncle, hello. I'm Senior Song Shuhang's friend, you roozy one. When Soft Feather drilled inside the box and made that call, Mama Song had already thought of this possibility. At the time, she remained silent and didn't speak, because she was too excited. Shuhang, that blockhead, had finally opened his eyes. After seeing that he had brought back a man, Mama Song had already lost faith in her son. But never would she have expected that he was a so-called man of true talent that didn't like to show off his talent. Without making a sound, he brought a girl home through the express delivery. Child, quickly come out. There is no need to stay inside the box. Mama Song gave Papa Song a meaningful glance, hinting him to put the broom down. Afterward, she went forward and helped Soft Feather get out of the box. Aha! Soft Feather laughed embarrassed. Then, she turned around and picked a small gift box and handed it over. This is a small gift. I ask Auntie and Uncle to accept it. The fact that you're is enough already. There is no need for excessive courtesy. You can treat this place as your home, no need to be embarrassed. Mama Song said with a radiant smile on her face. At this time, Zhao Yaya, who was resting in the living room, also came over. She shot a glance at Soft Feather and noticed her long legs. This girl with long legs, it should be her, right? When she went to Song Shuhang's university during the athletic meeting, Song Shuhang's classmates unintentionally revealed that they saw him with a beautiful girl with long legs. It seems that she is the girl they were talking about. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible.